So getting into what I wanted to speak on, or just what I wanted to bring to y'all attention. I apologize for the marks on the screen as far as like the red marks. I do not know how to get them off, so I don't want to press anything and mess anything up, y'all. So y'all see that little red line on the screen? Just deal with it. just bear with it. So these are the signs of the times that I've noticed. And like I say, I'm not a prophet or anything, but these are things that that make you think to yourself, man, we got to be close. We got to be close. So before we get into it, we're gonna just keep in mind the word the entire time we're going through this, and I'm showing you all these things. Remember that word endurance, Imad. Remember, because these things that y'all are gonna see, I'm gonna keep it real. It was weighing heavy on me putting this together. So just look at this as an opportunity for our faith to be built, to be established, for us to be able to endure, because there are things coming in the world that we're going to see. Yah willing, if we're allowed to see it, we're gonna see some things that we ain't think we'd ever see. But we'll get into it. So, and Zamaria, whenever you get settled, just let me know. Or if anybody else wouldn't mind taking on the burden, that way Sister Joyce doesn't have to carry the load by herself. You can just unmute yourself and just let me know. Like I say, this ain't really like a super formal thing. We're going to try to just work together as a unit doing this thing. But Sister Joyce, if you will, the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verses 10 through 12, whenever you're ready.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in Adonai Yah, and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Elohim, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of the world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Oh, praise. So depending on how long you've been in the walk, you've experienced some type of spiritual warfare. It doesn't matter if it's, if it was something over something small or over something great. For me, well, I'm not even going to make it about me. I'm going to ask y'all, because I like to interact. How many people has tried to tell somebody about this awakening? If you could just unmute yourself real quick, those who are able. How many people tried to tell somebody about this awakening? People that you love, it could be a friend, coworker, whatever. Go ahead, Joyce. So you raising your hand. Okay. Sister Corinne. All right. So now, when you first started learning about this thing, you thinking to yourself, man, this is beautiful. I'm thinking this whole time that we were nobodies. I'm thinking this whole time we were just slaves. I'm thinking this whole time we were just Gentiles. But come to find out, we are the chosen people of the living Elohim, or the living God, so to speak. So I'm going to go and tell everybody I know, because surely they'll be as excited as I am. Now, was that the case for most of the people you told this to?
La'ah. Is that how you say no?
La'ah. La'ah. That means no. That's exactly right. Most of the people, when I talked to them, they looked at me like I was crazy. Just the day before yesterday, I was talking to an elder from Jamaica, and he had just lost his wife 5 weeks ago. And he was getting emotional because it's, still fresh. He was an elder guy, close to 70, I'd imagine, 70, 80 years old. And, he started getting emotional talking to me about his wife. And, I told him, it's all right, take your time, elder. So once he got himself together, and I apologize, y'all, somebody's alarm going off in the parking lot. But once he got himself together, I I made the comment and I said, well, the God that I serve, as long as you're keeping his commandments, he'll heal you from anything that you're going through, as long as you're obedient to his word. And he asked me, he said, are you a Christian or are you just spiritual? I said, well, realistically, I'm not really either. I'm not either of those. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, specifically speaking, where I'm under the understanding that we are the children of Israel, the true Jews, and the chosen people of the living God. And as soon as I said that, this sweet old elderly man, Israelite man, something stirred up in him and his voice tone changed. And he put his hand in my face and he said, I want to tell you right now that you are wrong. So it just goes to show you that when we're bringing this message to people, it's not necessarily them that you're talking to. Because Ephesians 6, we're not dealing just with flesh and blood. We're dealing with spirits that have taken a hold of people, strongholds through false doctrine and through the curses of Deuteronomy that our people have been afflicted with due to our disobedience. So ultimately, I heard him out because I wanted to be respectful to him. And once he got finished talking, I just simply asked him, I said, can you prove to me with witnesses what you're saying? Because in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, it says you'll be taken into Egypt again with ships. And as soon as I said that, he stopped me and he pulled out a sheet of paper and he started writing down all the precepts that I was saying to him. So it's all praises to the Most High that even though that spirit stirred up in him, that he was still humble and willing to verify what I was saying, because there's been times where I would try to speak to somebody, and I'm pretty sure everybody in here can relate. You try to speak to somebody and you try to go to the scripture and they say, we ain't got to read that. And that just goes to show you the level of spiritual warfare that that we have to go through, that we're facing and experiencing. So I say this just to keep everybody mindful, to help all of us continue to endure in this thing. Pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to how you respond to the people that you love. Pay attention to how they respond to you. Pay attention to your surroundings and where you are, the people that are around you. I definitely believe that the Most High is giving us the spirit of discernment the closer we get to him by seeking him in his law, by the word. So you can look at somebody now and you're like, they ain't right. There's something off about this place. You can walk into a place and you can feel the spirit like, nah, I'm out of here. And when I was back in the world, it gets shaky because, now coming out and learning of the Most High is that flesh in us, that doubt, like, is this really the Most High or is this me talking? And most of the time, it really is the spirit of the Most High just speaking to you. But because his voice is still so foreign to us, that's where all that doubt still is. So does that make sense so far? Any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay.
I wanted to let me back off kind of what you said when you're talking to people about the truth. And I was hoping that my older sister would be on because we had a long, extensive conversation last night. But we were talking, of course, I think the biggest thing that I keep running into is that people don't believe in the Bible. They believe because it's adulterated and all of that. she was like, I don't think that we'll know anything 100% until like the Messiah comes back. So in a way, it was almost like, she was saying, it was almost like why try anything? Because you won't, nobody knows 100%. And I see that I'm getting that response more often than, like when I ain't trying to hear it. It's more so like, well, we don't know. Nobody knows 100%. So it's kind of like, why would I trust in that Bible? Or me and her had got on the conversation of like Abraham. I guess she was saying like how the Most High asked Abraham to sacrifice his son. She was just like, I just can't see how, a God will want me to sacrifice. She pointed to my nephew. She was like that, the gift that he gave me, how he would want me to sacrifice that and all of that. So, like I said, the conversation was deep. It was intensive. It was a heavy conversation, but I think that's the thing that I'm just constantly running into. And I think if I can be equipped with ways to better respond to that, because I can only give from my revelation and my experiences, but I think that is like a I'm not gonna say a valid point to see from their perspective. I mean, that's just how they believe. So I guess if I could be equipped to really be able to respond to that in an appropriate manner that is still going to feed, both of us, honestly. That's kind of where I am with that.
Does anybody want to comment? Oh, man, I wish Shamar was off. I wish Shamar could speak.
Nariah, yeah, I got you. Khan, what I would say to that, Joyce, is that was Joyce, right, that said that?
Khan.
Yeah, what I would say to that is just from my years in sales, I kind of use the sales tactics of acknowledging what they say, empathizing with what they say. I can see why you feel that way. I once myself felt that way. But then you tie it back to what I've come to find and what I've come to realize. Then you can tie in what you understand about scripture, because that's a natural feeling that a lot of people would feel if they only read the scriptures in surface. The reality is she don't understand the wisdom of the Most High and what was playing out, the prophetic nature of what was playing out. And he didn't let him do it. He stopped him and he provided a alternative, but look what came from that measure of faith that man displayed. So, and then he didn't ask him to do nothing that he wasn't willing to do. Look at what the Most High did. You know what I'm saying? So I learned that if you just empathize with what people saying, put yourself in their shoes, hey, you know what? I would feel the same way. As a parent, if I had a child, I would feel the same way. Why would he ask that? What was the point behind that? And then you tie her in and let her walk with you and show her what was the point behind it, what the Most High did. And, ultimately, if her heart is right, and if the Most High is ready for her, she'll get it, but don't feel overwhelmed and don't feel like, like you said, equip yourself better, and you will, equip yourself more to be able to handle those situations, because we call them conversation stoppers, or we call them like smoke screens and stuff like that. Everybody put them up. They're designed to be knocked down. You just got to know how to skillfully do it.
The water.
If we could real quick, let's go to Romans chapter 4. Just a quick segue, just to help give you a better idea. Let's read let's start at verse start at verse 14. Read 14 through 22, Joyce, whenever you get there.
Okay. Romans 4, verse 14 For if they which are of the law be heirs, faith is made void, and the promise made of none effect. Because the law worketh wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression. Therefore it is of faith, that it might be by grace, to the end the promise might be sure to all the seed, not to that only which is of the law, but to that also which is of the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. As it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations, before him whom he believed, even Yah, who quickeneth the dead, and calleth those things which be not as though they were, who against hope believed in hope, that he might become the father of many nations, according to that which was spoken, so shall thy seed be.
Mm-hmm.
And being not weak in faith, he considered not his own body now dead, when he was about 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. He staggered not at the promise of Yah through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to Yah, and being fully persuaded that what he had promised, he was able also to perform. And therefore it was imputed to him for righteousness.
All praises. So I had you read that, Joyce, just so we can expound on what faith truly means. Because we hear that word, and especially in Christianity, people will read this and see, that's why we don't need the law. That's why you can't do the law no more. But that's not what it was trying to say. If you're married and you do your husbandly or wifely duties just to say you did them, is that necessarily love?
Right.
Would you say yes or no?
No.
Okay. Now, if you did those things because you genuinely cared about the other person and you believed that this is your protector, this is your pillow of rest, this is the one for you, now would you say that's love? Yes or no?
Yes.
So I say it like that to say, when the Most High spoke to Father Abraham way back when he was 80, 90 years old, he told him that he was going to be a father of many nations, and through your loins are kings and priests and rulers going to come. So if Father Abraham didn't obey the Most High, then of course we know Isaac wouldn't have came. But let's think of it this way. He has sex with his handmaid and bear a child. But what did the Most High say before that? When a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, they shall become one flesh. So the father, if the Most High was talking to Abraham, who also was he talking to?
The mother, the wife, right?
Sarah, right?
Yeah.
So of course we know how eventually she conceived and bore Isaac, but it still goes down to, okay, if I can do this thing, but if you don't believe in what the Most High says, because he knows your heart, he tries the heart. That's why it continues to speak on Father Abraham believed. He didn't doubt anything. So he's like, okay, if I do this thing, the Most High is going to provide me with the seed and the heir. And it's the same thing when it came to offering Isaac up. Okay, well, Isaac don't have any children, and this is my only son. But I remember what the Most High told me way back then, I would be a father of many nations. and that through this seed is the promise going to be. So ultimately, and it's not just your sister, this is just what it is when it comes to, you know, most of our people don't believe. And you said that earlier, you said it. Our people don't believe, not in the Bible, but they don't believe in the Most High. So that also is another form of spiritual warfare. We're gonna talk a little bit about it a little bit later. But Gerald, is there anything else that you wanted to add on to that? Or anybody else?
No, not that. You tied that in good.
Okay. Did that make sense, Joyce? Okay. All right. And of course, if anybody got any other questions, comments, we can go over it a little, you know, afterwards or whatever. But you're gonna let it flow. But this all kind of ties into what we're saying. So let's go to Luke chapter 17, verses 26 through 30. And like I said, Mashapak, from here on out, I tried to have the scriptures on the screen. That way everybody could see it.
You ready?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, also as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought they sowed, they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed.
Okay. So we're gonna go through a couple of these scriptures just to see the similitudes of this visitation of some sort. But you can see the language that's being spoke here kind of ties into what your sister is currently going through, Joyce. And like I said, it's not just her. A lot of people have that spirit of, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. When it starts to rain or when the fire starts to come down, that's when we'll try to repent. Instead of, okay, I hear what you're saying, and I do see this movement of people saying we are the Israelites. And I do see people bringing out historical documents that supersedes the 1611 KJV, you know, but realistically, like Shamaria always say, a lot of people ain't gonna do that level of research. But when you're on Twitter, TikTok, social media, and you see people, Negroes saying that we the Israelites, sometimes that will pique people's interest to dig a little deeper and really seek more as far as what they're saying. And I'm starting to understand, man, that right there is the Holy Spirit leading you. It's because you pricked the Holy Spirit being in you is the reason that you even look into this thing, that you even research this thing, that you wanted to read more about it. So I didn't put it in here, but the parable of the sower. As soon as the seed gets spread, the enemy immediately comes and tries to take it away. And we know the seed is the word of the Most High. We know it's the word. So as soon as the word comes, that's when your job wants to have mandatory overtime. That's when your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend wants to hit you up after 7 months and y'all ain't talk. That's when everything that you've wanted in this world presents itself to you. And now you have options to either pursue the truth and seek the Most High or go even deeper into the world. That's Satan's job. Come. Okay. So let's see in the book of 2nd Baruch. This is the scribe or writer of Jeremiah. 2nd Baruch, chapter 25, verses 1 through 4. Whenever you're ready, Joyce.
And he answered and said unto me, you too shall be preserved till that time, till that sign which the Most High will work for the inhabitants of the earth in the end of days. This therefore shall be the sign. When a stupor shall seize the inhabitants of the earth, and they shall fall into many tribulations. And again, when they shall fall into great torments. And it will come to pass when they say in their thoughts by reasons of their much tribulation, Elohim no longer remembers the earth, yea. It will come to pass when they abandon hope that the time will then awake.
Okay. So with that right there, you see similar language in it again. And it goes back to the very beginning, Imad, endurance. When you see people giving up, when you see people losing patience, when you see people saying, man, this God ain't real. I might as well just keep doing my thing in the world. I might as well just do this thing over here. I don't want to lose my job. Ain't no telling how much longer we going to be over here. When you see people submitting because of the tribulation that they're going through, when they are seized by the tribulations and they give up, that's when the time is going to awake. So that word stupor, think of it as like a spiritual blindness that the Most High puts on people, because it's Most High that blinds people's hearts or unlocks understanding. This is of his will. So the fact that you understand what's being said, I always say it for those who know me, never take it for granted. If you can see, hear, and understand this word, because you are blessed. The Most High is calling you. You are blessed. These are the days that our ancestors talked about. They were praying and fasting, wishing they can see this day. So, when it comes to us offering up ourselves, forsaking our old ways as far as like the world and choosing to walk with the Most High, that's our reasonable service, because he offered up his only begotten son that didn't have any sin to die for a whole bunch of sinners. So the least we can do is do the best that we can with what we got. Would y'all agree or disagree?
John.
Okay.
Khan, I will, Salakia, I would like to chime in and add, and this is probably like the first time I really went into this with y'all since, but everybody might be kind of familiar with what I went through recently as far as like my divorce and, coming into the awakening with my ex-wife. And she was side by side with me for a while, but being somebody that's a mixed hybrid of sorts, she lost her identity, finding out the real truth. And she wasn't okay with just being a righteous Gentile. So I saw the process of how this truth, affects somebody as far as their spirit. And like I said, behind the scenes, whole time she was like on YouTube listening to other people, not coming to me as her head, to ask questions and stuff. She kind of went rogue, and the stuff kind of festered and took advantage of her over 3 months. And by the time she presented stuff to me that she currently believed at the time, I'm like, wow, like where is coming from? So I kind of flipped. I probably ain't react the right way, but I did the normal thing that I think most people would do to get shocked in that situation. Like that, to the point where now you anti-Messiah, you no longer believe in the New Testament, you no longer believe in headship, you no longer believe in faith, all that stuff. And I'm like, the way you going, this thing gonna lead to you being agnostic, atheist, or whatever the case may be. And then months down the line, guess what she at now? She don't believe nothing. She don't believe in the book or none of that. So it's like, and she say the same thing, like you said, if I can't see it, I don't believe it. And I'm just like, it's like, man, well, we are at the time where we walk by faith and not by sight. I mean, look at the times past when they did see the acts of the Most High and they knew him in that regard. They knew his character. They witnessed him. They experienced him. It ain't do nothing for them. They still end up going astray for the most part. But nowadays, you know, we under that dispensation where faith is necessary. You know, I'd rather have faith and try to be on the right side of truth and be on the right side of protection when it go down, and not be that person that see the raindrops come down, so to speak, and then the door shut and it's too late. So everything you're saying is on point, you know, and if it bothers you to see somebody that you care about, somebody that you love, you know, our family, you know, the people that we want to, you know, we want to get out there, we want to scream in front of rooftops and tell these people, look, y'all, like this is why I changed. This is why I adjusted. This is the truth. I figured this out. I found this out, you know, but ultimately when you realize it ain't really what we say, you know, our job is just to plant the seeds and water. It ain't really what we say, you know, it's really, they ain't even got to hear the best breakdown. If their heart is right, if the soil is right, it could be something simple that sparked them, you know, to allow the Most High to work on their spirit. And depending on what that soil is, it's going to determine whether that person grab hold and stick with it or not. And unfortunately, in these last days, we're going to see some ones that we close to, that we care about, not make it, you know. And if we ain't careful, some of us may fall off, you know. So it's like it's everything you're saying is definitely on point. And it's just, if anything, it's making all of us reflect how important these things are with the times we're going in, to make sure that we don't faint out in spirit, and, you know what I'm saying, and we stay faithful and we stay tapped into the Most High and His Ruach. So yeah, I don't want to be long-winded going to a rant, but I just wanted to say that right quick.
That's kind, and I just wanted to let me back off what he just said. And my sister, all praises, jumped on, so she's on, but I'm hoping that she heard that, because those were the exact words that I told her. It's not even about like what we say. When it comes down to being obedient, you just sowing the seed. The Most High is gonna give that increase. So I just got to be obedient. I got to say what He tells me to say, do what He tells me to do, go where He tells me to go, and He's gonna give the increase. So the fact that you just said that, I hope that she heard that. And yeah, just all praises. Hey sis.
All praises, all praises. While we here, another quick segue. We're just gonna let the Ruach flow like water. Joyce, can you go to 2nd Ezra chapter 1? 2nd Ezra chapter 1.
Ezra chapter 1. Okay.
Read verses 33 through 37, because it's a good question to ask. Well, how do we know? You know, how do we know if the book is real? How do we know that this power, this God is real? You know, and that's even though that is a valid question, because we tired of being church hurt and all of those things. But realistically, when you look back at it in hindsight, ain't none of us question the church. Ain't none of us question any of the other false religions that we were in. But when it comes to, you know, this awakening, everybody got, you know, 21 questions, like 50 Cent old song. You know what I'm saying? But let's look at the book of 2nd Ezra. I believe that this book was really written by our ancestor, Uncle Ezra. He was a Levite. And let's see what he's saying. Let's see if we can confirm or bring witnesses to validate that this is the awakening, and this, we are on the right track. So 2nd Ezra chapter 1, verses 33 through 37, Joyce.
Okay. Thus saith, is it Yahweh to Zabaoth?
You can just say Yahweh.
Okay, Yahweh, your house is desolate. I will cast you out as the wind doeth stubble. Now,
this is the Most High talking to the wicked Israelites, our wicked ancestors who weren't doing right. He's saying he gonna toss us out. Keep going.
And your children shall not be fruitful, for they have despised my commandment and done the thing that is an evil before me. Your houses will I give to a people that shall come, which not having heard of me yet shall believe me, to whom I have showed no signs, yet they shall do that I have commanded them.
Read that verse again, Joyce.
Your houses will I give to a people that shall come, which not having heard of me yet shall believe me, to whom I have showed no signs, yet they shall do that I have commanded them.
Now, this is talking about us in our generation. We were separated from the Most High so far that we forgot who we were even. We forgot who we were. We forgot our identity. We forgot our culture and heritage. None of us can go back 3 generations. Most of us can't go back 2. I don't know who my great-grandparents are. But I say all those things to say we were discontinued from our heritage. So we were no longer a people because we were separated from our power. So when you read in the book of Hosea, there you shall be called not my people. In the same place you are called not my people, there you're going to be called the sons and daughters of the living God, or living Elohim. So these 2 verses marry up with one another in a sense of people that wasn't even a people are going to believe, not seeing or hearing, not knowing the most. It says, what did it say? It says, your houses will I give to a people that shall come, which not having heard of me yet. But when we do hear it, it's going to do something in our spirit. It's going to resonate with us. Keep going, Joyce. Verse 30.
They have seen no prophets, yet they shall call their sins to remembrance and acknowledge them.
Have we not been repenting, fasting, and praying?
Right.
Have we not been researching and studying who we were before the transatlantic slave trade? Have we not been calling out to the Most High saying, take us back to Tazayan or Zion? Keep going, Joyce. Finish that off.
I take to witness the grace of the people to come, whose little ones rejoice in gladness. And though they have not seen me with bodily eyes, bodily eyes, yet in spirit they believe the thing that I say.
So this ties directly in to the witness that Shemaryah brought out a few months back with Jubilees. And just for the sake of, some new people being in here, let's get that one next. Let's get Jubilees. Was it Jubilees 15, I think? Yeah, Jubilees 15. Just for the sake of those who might be new or might not have known about this precept.
Jubilees.
Because there's nothing new under the sun. There's no question. There's no experience that anybody's going through that the Most High hasn't seen before and that hasn't been asked or experienced in the earth. We aren't brand new innovators of anything. We just reliving the past. So Jubilees chapter 15, verses 28 through 32. Whenever you're ready, Joyce.
Verses 28 through 32. Okay. And do you command the children of Israel and let them observe the sign of this covenant for their generations as an eternal ordinance, and they will not be rooted out of the land.
Mm-hmm.
For the command is ordained for a covenant, that they shall observe it forever among all the children of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
For
Ishmael
and his sons and his brothers and Esau, Yah did not cause to approach him, and he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham, because he knew them, but he chose Israel to be his people, or Yasharallah. Mm-hmm. And he sanctified it and gathered it from among all the children of men, for there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his.
So everything is the Most High's creation. Everything is the Most High's creation, but he chose this one specific bloodline, this one specific nation of people, Yasher Allah, Jacob, Israel, out of all the other nations in the earth. He chose, the creator of heaven and earth chose this one nationality. Keep going, Joyce.
And over all has he placed Ruach, or spirit, in authority to lead them astray from him.
To lead them where?
Lead them astray from him.
So the creator of heaven and earth can do whatever he want to do, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When somebody asks you why you do certain things and you in your house, what's our people's response? This is my house. I can do whatever I want to do. So y'all see that same language in this thing, right? Or am I tripping?
You ain't tripping. You ain't tripping. It's all throughout the scripts. We see our things that we say, you know, as a culture, you know, we see our character all throughout that book.
Because we're made in our Father's image and likeness. We're getting back to the righteousness, but we still have those traits, those mannerisms that how is it that, you know, Abshaya, Gerald, they all the way over there on the West Coast, and we can relate to people that live in Jamaica, to people like Giannis Antetokounmpo that's from Greece. We all got the same mannerisms. Most of us all like the same types of food. How is that?
Shalakia.
Go ahead.
Shalakia. I think about what Hamashiach, when he was they tried to like trick him with their little guile and stuff like that. And they asked him about the baptism of John. Was it from God or from man? He said, all right, let me ask you a question. You answer my question, I answer yours. And he asked him the question. And they were like, because they knew that if they answered a certain way, the people was going to turn against them. They didn't want to make them right. So they just try to act like they don't know. He said, well, all right, well, if you ain't going to answer my question, I ain't going to answer your question.
Right.
Right. If that ain't our people, I don't know what is. Because I operate like that all the time. You know?
Yeah, I was laughing. I just read that. I just read that maybe day before yesterday. And I was laughing when they was at that wedding and they didn't have enough wine, that first miracle that Yahweh Shah was recorded to do. And his mother told him, like, they ain't got no wine. Yahweh Shah looked at her. He's like, what's that got to do with me? So you absolutely right, man. It's just stuff that you notice that when you keep reading the text, like, man, this ain't nothing but our people in this book, man. It ain't nothing but our people in this book. Was that all you had, Gerald?
That's all I had. Just wanted to land me back and add that.
All right. Joyce, could you pick it up at verse 31 one more time, 31 and 32?
Verse 31. And he sanctified it and gathered it from among all the children of men. For there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his. And over all has he placed ruachs, or spirits, in authority to lead them astray from him. But over Yasharallah he did not appoint any angel or ruach, for he alone is their ruler, and he will guard them and require them at the hand of his angels and ruachs, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that they may guard them and bless them, and that they may be his, and he may be theirs from henceforth forever.
So whatever these spirits do to lead the Most High's people astray or attempt to, he's going to require that at their hand, because he gave dominion to the other nationalities and the wicked Israelites that he didn't choose. But I'm not going to go into that. We're just going to stick straight to the text. Over Yashar Allah, the Most High did not appoint any other spirit or principality over his people. He alone is the ruler. That's why you see that same language when Samuel was around, and our people wanted a king because we wanted to be like the other nations. And the Most High was telling Samuel, look, they didn't reject you, they rejected me. So give them what they want, but tell them what type of king they gonna get. And of course, we know it was King Shaul or Saul from the tribe of Benjamin, and he ended up being a wicked king. So, but that's a good segue to bring those witnesses out. And I hope that was edifying to you, Joyce, and it helped. All right. We're moving along.
Salaki, I'm sorry. I just wanted to plug in based on what you said. So when you think about it, so when you choose to go and follow these other nations or go and follow these guys or put yourself under these doctrines of men, these religions, or whatever the case may be. Like, you're basically replacing, just like he told them when they wanted a king, you're replacing the Most High with these spirits that he purposely created to lead astray.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he put that in order. So it's like, you can just see how skillful it is when you remove script from the book, you know, and these people not even knowing what they doing, you know, like they have no clue. And then we ask them, are you familiar with the 14 books? Even just the King James 1611 authorized standard version, just the 14 books that they took out of that, they most of them don't even know. So
right.
you're trying to build truth off of 60% of the book. And like, you don't even know how you're gonna do that without knowing what the rest of the pieces is. So it's like, to show people that, you know, and for them to see that what they're actually doing, you will hope that it will prick their hearts. But again, it comes down to the Most High and what he's doing with.
Right. And that's why the plumb line, and I'm so thankful for Abijah, man. And I'm thankful that the Most High has put him in my path, because the plumb line and being able to gather witnesses based off of the law, based off what the Most High said, based off of what Masha was told and said, based off what Hamashiach said, using those witnesses helps you sift out the fool's gold, so to speak. And you sift out all the nonsense. As Shamaria always say, you chew the meat and spit out the bone. So that's why those things are so important. And that's why it's so important to study, to show yourself approved. Because if you ain't willing to research and look into nothing, you're going to easily be swayed one way or the other with this thing. You'll end up, you know, Tupac said this a few years back, and I'm pretty sure maybe a few of y'all might remember. He says something along the lines of, you better be willing to, how do you say it? You better be willing to stand for something, or you're going to fall for anything. You better be willing to stand for something, or you're going to fall for anything. And when it, you know, things like that happen in my life personally, I hold on to, because, and I'm also thankful to Shamaria, and I want to give him some honor right here, because he helped me when it comes to not necessarily believing what you hear that first time. Shamar taught me that I don't believe a single word you say until I go back and look into it for myself. And I come to find out that's the same spirit that the Bereans had on them when Paul came to them. They said, all right, Paul, we hear what you're saying, but we're going to research this for ourselves. And if it's cool with you, we'll come and we'll talk about it again when we get more equipped about the scripture. So, you know, that's why all these things are important, because Satan is he's pulling all his tricks out the bag now. And he don't care how he gets you. He don't care how you get deceived. He just wants you to be deceived. So are there any questions, comments, concerns about that? All right, moving right along. So this is the response to the statement that the Malachim, or the angel, made to Barak. And this is Barak's response. And then we're going to go right back into the prophecy that he's given. So Joyce, if you could start on the left with 2 Barak 26:1, and then we're going to go right over there to the right and continue whenever you're ready.
Okay. And I answered and said, will that tribulation which is to be continue a long time? And will that necessity embrace many years? And he answered and said unto me, into 12 parts. Give me just 1 second, I'm gonna zoom in. And he answered and said unto me, into 12 parts is that time divided, and each one of them is reserved for that which is appointed for it. In the first part, there shall be the beginning of commotions. And in the second part, there shall be slayings of the great ones.
Now, with those two right there, if you modernize those things, the beginning of commotions, you can think of like riots and protests and things of that nature. Now, we've been seeing a lot of that this past year or two. whether it be because of, Black Lives Matter, whether it be because of the COVID, whether it be because of strikes, whether it be because of people being upset of the inoculation declinations and stuff like that, with the glaze, with the slaying of the great ones. And these are just things that I see. And this is based off my understanding. I'm not telling y'all, once again, I'm not telling y'all that this is what it is. I'm just showing y'all what I see, and leaving it up to y'all to take it in prayer, and we all fast together that the Most High gives us all clear understanding. But
Salakia.
Go ahead.
When it say the great ones, can that be referred to as like celebrities, like pop people that's kind of in the media and all that stuff? Like, could that be referred to as that?
Now, that's exactly where I was going. So that's a witness to what I was about to say. We look at like the Queen of England just dying. We look at in our culture, all of these hip hop artists that are well known to the younger generation. Some of the movie stars and personalities on the media that we grew up watching, like Bob Saget and John Witherspoon, and people that we consider to be great, Betty White, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These people are starting to fall off. People that we never even imagined or thought would die are dying in multitude, almost in droves, it seems like. I know we deal with death every day, but I'm 35 years old. In the 90s and early 2000s, the only two people that I really, really three, the only three people that I really remember dying like that was Tupac, Biggie, and Aaliyah. Nobody else was really dying as often and as much as we're seeing now. Maybe that's just me, but Khan, that's exactly where I was going with this verse, slayings of the great ones. Like I say, I'm not saying that that's what it is, but that's just what it's looking like to me, because who else would be considered great ones other than like politicians or presidents or whatnot?
Salakia. And forgive me too for keep chiming in, but I'm just gonna let the spirit flow, because
go ahead.
I'm on one today. But it's when you think about it, I remember as a kid, before I understood truth, became a spiritual person, idolizing Michael Jordan and stuff like that. In my mind, I'm like, like Jordan was a god. It's like I remember when I learned about death for the first time, I'm like, well, God, please let me meet Michael Jordan. Don't ever let him die. I want to meet Michael Jordan before he died. Now, granted, I'm older and Jordan's still alive, but back then, it's like, in my mind, people like that don't die. They ain't supposed to die, right?
You see what I'm
and
saying?
Then when you think about it, like Kobe, like that thing had me in tears because I'm like, what? Like, how does that happen to somebody in that stature, And the Pac and Biggie thing too was huge, but it don't happen like that. So you're right. Nowadays, it's like you starting to see like they drop it like regularly. They drop it, and it's somebody different all the time. And it's just a matter of time, before it's gonna be another huge name that's gonna shock the world. But it's speeding up. It's definitely speeding up. So you're right about that.
God, I know for me, what helped me with my awakening process was when Nipsey Hussle died. I shed tears for him because I was I was so grieved, thinking to myself, what is it about people that look like me that the whole world just seems to hate so much? Because you can't sit here and tell me it's the color of my skin. Because these real blue, black, we know them now to be most likely Hamites, but they get treated differently than we do. They get treated better. There are like the I guess you can call them the Indians, the Indians now, like the straight hair that own most of like the gas stations and all that stuff. They're melanated. So why aren't they being shot down in the streets and pretty much humiliated on the media all the time like our people is? So that's exactly the point I was going to make with you and Zamaria, Gerald, because that's what helped me in the whole awakening process. And that's why it was so heavy on my heart to just show y'all these things from my perspective, just in case if you either didn't know about them, or I definitely believe that, like I said in the beginning, we get to the door of this thing. So it's time to start really looking at these scriptures, Matthew 24s and the Luke 17s and the books of Revelation. I know you and Shamar are all over that, but it's time to really start looking at this stuff, because we see, and we're going to see a little bit more in this presentation, that this stuff is really coming to a head. But, with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you keep flowing, Joyce. Verse 4.
And in the third part, the fall of many by death. And in the fourth part, the sending of the sword.
War.
And then in the fifth part, famine and the withholding of rain.
We seeing that.
And in the sixth part, earthquakes and terrors.
Now, and this is where I wish Shamaria was able to speak, because he posted a post on Twitter a few months ago where in the matter of a week, there was like over 100 earthquakes in one area. But the news don't talk about it. So we're seeing more natural disasters. People are recording videos of lightning striking in their backyard and it's knocking a whole big tree down. I tried to find the video, but I couldn't get it. I wanted to make this presentation a little more visual for y'all, because we're visual people. So let's read through this and y'all, we'll get to it. Keep going, Joyce.
And I guess this is wanting or wanting.
So wanting is when you look at some of the other precepts, when it comes to being found wanting, the people that aren't getting the spiritual reps in now, their faith isn't being established. So when it comes down to you being able to fast for 3 days without food or drink because we got to ration the food out, when it comes down to you being able to hold on and endure, you ain't going to be able to. So you're going to concede and fold and go back into the world. And when the Most High unlocks that visitation, just like when he was talking about in that other precept we just brought out, you're going to be found wanting when he visits the earth. But does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, keep going.
And in the eighth part, of a multitude of specters.
Specters, that means ghosts.
Specters, okay. And attacks of the Shaddayim.
Demons. So evil spirits, essentially, is what 9 is saying. Multitude of evil spirits. And we're seeing that on people now. We're seeing it with the LGBTQIA community. We're seeing it. We're going to see it in this video. Like I said, in this presentation, y'all, I'm telling y'all, just prepare your hearts and minds for some things that you're going to see up here. We're going to see some of these spirits, but keep going, Joyce.
And in the 9th part, the fall of fire. And in the 10th part, rapine and rapine and much oppression. So
rapine is pretty much like running in people's houses and stealing what they got, looting almost. And then in the fall of fire, back in 2019, 2020, and even now, California on fire almost every year. In Australia, they had fire breaking out, and literally the next day, hailstones falling on top of it. I don't know if many people remembered that, but I tried to keep this as, give you the information you need, but still not have it too overwhelming with so much information. But it's a lot happening in the world that people aren't talking about on mainstream media. But keep going, Joyce.
And in the 11th part, wickedness and unchastity.
That means
and in the 12th,
going to be hypersexual, unchastity. People aren't going to hold on to their virtue. They're going to be out here wilding.
Gotcha. And in the 12th part, confusion from the mingling together of all those things aforesaid. And these parts of that time are reserved and shall be mingled one with another and ministered one to another. For some shall leave out some of their own and receive in its stead from others, and some complete their own and that of others. so that those may not understand who are upon the earth in those days, that this is the consummation of the times.
So these different signs are going to mix and mingle with one another. So at one point, you might see war break out. At another part, you're going to see riots break out. In another part, you're going to see famine breaking out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to be mixing and mingling with one another. And once again, you see all of these things happening today.
Right.
And we're so desensitized to it, we think, oh, that's just the way the world goes. But that's not the way it's supposed to be. So I wanted to show this specific chapter right here, just to show y'all what the signs of the times, y'all, the signs of the times. But let's move forward. 2 Timothy chapter 3.
2 Timothy chapter 3.
So we're seeing from generation to generation, similar lingo when it comes to like last days, end times, because the Most High don't change, right? He don't change. So the way he judged before is the same way he gonna judge moving forward. Now he might use different means as opposed to like the flood of Noah, the fire of Sodom and Gomorrah, the fire that's gonna come down in these days. But he still judges and he gives signs before he does it. So 2 Timothy chapter 3. And Joyce, whenever you get tired of reading, one of the Akyam can pick up the load, or I can just finish it off. It's all right.
Cool. Okay. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of Yah, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with divers lusts, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
So that was a mouthful right there. But we can see a lot of these things happening today. And we're going to just get straight to it. We're going to see if we see some of these different characteristics happening so we can start putting this picture together. And this was back in Shawwal in them time. All right. So this is where it's going to become more visual, y'all. We're going to start watching some videos, and I want y'all to let me know if y'all can hear the video when I play it. But real quick, just read that quick precept right there, Joyce.
A shameless woman shall be counted as a dog, but she that is shamefaced will fear Yahweh.
Okay. Now, y'all see up there in the top right is Lil Nas X. We know that he is proclaimed to be a homosexual. And for those who have not seen this video, that is not the clip that I'm going to play, because I just want it to be a screenshot. But you see how he's essentially mocking the Most High in this picture. He's it's unholy. It is, man, it's everything trash. I'll put it that way. But I want y'all to pay attention to the bottom right of the screen. And it got cropped out, but that caption says Hollywood worships Satan. So I'm gonna play this. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear it.
On behalf of Amy, I'd like to thank the devil and all the dark lords who gave her this award and allowed her to feast on the flesh of the enemy.
Welcome to the Satanic Cult Awards, ladies and gentlemen. All hail the Dark Lord. Good evening, godless sodomites.
What are you doing?
I'm bringing the truth, John. We're in Hollywood, the belly of the beast.
You can't just read the prompter?
I'm reading the prompter in here. You can read that pablum. It warps the minds of our children and weakens the resolve of our allies.
We're here to honor achievement in that category.
By giving you a golden idol to worship. Kneel before your God, Babylon!
So, could y'all hear that all right?
Con.
Now,
Truth in plain sight.
truth in plain sight. Exactly. It's called universal law for anybody that wants to research that. It's called universal law. So these people obviously worship the devil and they participate in witchcraft rituals like human sacrifice, humiliation rituals, whether it be through sexual acts or just something that humiliates your character. One of the easiest examples is seeing men dressing up in dresses, wearing dresses like women, things of that nature. And once again, it goes back to slayings of the great ones. When you start understanding that these people speak to each other in code and they do these rituals in order to achieve their success, some of them have talent, but in order to achieve that level of success and fame, you have to make some sort of sacrifice to Satan. Now, thinking about it, maybe not necessarily for the older generation that might not be as in tuned with this generation, but thinking about Kanye West, when his mother passed away, that's when he really blew up. When Biggie died, that's when P. Diddy really blew up. Floyd Mayweather lost a couple of his family members. The newer artist, The Baby, his father passed away, and then he blew up. Meg Thee Stallion, this young lady on the left with her tongue sticking out, her mother passed away, and then she blew up. So you see the similitudes over and over and over again. And when you really start paying attention, when you learn of these languages that they speak to one another, it starts to make sense that now Satan has infiltrated the media in order to indoctrinate and in order to condition this generation of youth. And me as a gamer, I can tell y'all 100% right now that he has also infiltrated the video game industry and he is conditioning your children to worship the beast. So with that, let's get right on to the next slide. I'm show you what I'm talking about. Credit to Joyce because she actually sent me this a few days ago.
And Sister T was saying people dismiss it because it's quotations, a joke.
That's exactly right, sis. Did you want to elaborate on that at all, T, or are you in a position to speak? You know, you can feel free. Ain't nobody gonna, judge you or make you, no question is a crazy question because we all learning and everybody's input is valid. As long as you ain't saying nothing crazy out here.
No, I was just saying, like, based off of like the awards, like how everybody was laughing.
Right.
So they see it in a joking manner. So then when people see it at home, they're just like, oh, ha ha, type of thing.
That's exactly right.
And they just dismiss all the spiritual signs that like are hidden.
That's exactly right.
Actually not hidden.
It's all praises that you said that because it jogged my memory. You're exactly right, Sister T. And what Satan will do, that's why the media is so powerful for him, the video game industry, because it's all behind the wall of science fiction most of the time. So they can put all this symbolism, they can put all this truth in movies, TV shows, and all of these things, because at the end of it all, when you get finished being plugged in to this matrix and all this information is downloaded into you, at the very end, you say, oh, well, that's on TV. That'll never happen. They'll never do something like that. That stuff ain't real. Now, let me ask y'all straight up. Go ahead, T. What you got?
I also just wanted to add, like, Disney. I used to be a huge Disney fan as a child. And then, of course, as an adult, like, being in the truth, I can watch something like something that I watched in the past on Disney and then see, like, just hidden things. I was like, what? Like, something sexual or,
right.
You know, just different, like, images that they might put in there that I'll notice it now as an adult, but I didn't as a child.
Right. So I'm not sure of how many of y'all are familiar with the Divergent movie series. It's kind of like the Hunger Games. There's pretty much like a post-apocalyptic world, and the people are separated into 5 different factions, and each faction has a different function. So they work together to maintain the society. And the main character is this white girl, and she's considered to be what's called a divergent. And those people are dangerous because they don't just affiliate with one faction. They pretty much can think critically for themselves. So I say all those things to say, once you get to the second and third movie, in the second movie, they show you the RFID chip. They show you the glaze is what we call it, but the needle inoculation. And I think y'all know where I'm going with that. They show you that. So it's symbolism towards like the mark of the beast and all that stuff. And then in the third movie, in the first 3 minutes or so, they tell you that the story where they are, those first 2 and 3 movies, take place in Chicago, Illinois. Now, y'all hold on to that because we're going to come back to Chicago, Illinois. But the movie Divergent is like, remember, a post-apocalyptic, the Hunger Games. Think of like not necessarily the Walking Dead, but it's close. So just remember that. We're going to move forward. Joyce, could you read Proverbs 23, 12 through 14 for me? Because we were talking about how these spirits, the spiritual warfare, can attack your children with you being unaware. And real quick, before we go there, because we mostly, to my knowledge, is Israelites up in here. How often did any of y'all talk back to y'all parents? Let alone raise your hand up against them, or for that matter, tear something up that they paid for.
All right.
Not often, or I got my tail toe up.
Okay.
That's exactly right. All right. Now, we're going to let Joyce read this and we're going to watch what happens. As y'all can see the caption, a 12-year-old boy did this because his mother took away his phone. All right, read that for me, Joyce.
Disobedient parents. So it says, apply thine heart unto instruction and thine ears to the words of knowledge. Withhold not correction from the child. For if thou beatest him with a rod, he shall not die. Thou shalt beat him with a rod and shalt deliver his soul from hell.
Why y'all think our grandparents and parents had them switches and belts on deck? And if they couldn't get their hands on that, it was whatever they grabbed. A shoe, a broom. My mom whooped me with a 2x4 one time. That was the last whooping I ever got. But the Most High has it this way because us all being born in sin, children can lie or sin innately. You ever talk to a little baby that barely know how to talk? It could be a cute little baby girl, and you can look at her and smile and say, "Are you a boy?" And they'll smile right back at you and say, "Yes." And you know that they don't know what they're saying, but they do it just because it's already in us. So, of course, Satan wants to get to the children because they're like sponges. You can keep pouring into them. Every single day they wake up, they learning, they're processing, they're being ingrained with something. So this technology, because most of our parents are so busy, and this is all by design, most of the parents are so busy, when they get home, they just want some peace because they tired. So they'll give their child a tablet, a cell phone, the TV. Here, watch this Baby Shark. Not really knowing what it's doing to the child's subconscious mind. So let's see this video right here and see if this would have been one of our people back in the day.
Take the baby box. Explain this to my job. Explain it to my job. Oh God.
How y'all feel about that?
Yep. Sister Corinne said the mama is crying, and Brother Walt said, my kids would never. In other words, well, he said my kids wouldn't dare shaking my head.
So this is the type of spiritual warfare this generation is dealing with. The more and more you let technology and all this stuff get involved in your children's lives, and the less and less that we are involved, this is going to be the result. Because if we're not training them in the way that they shall go, the righteous way, which is the Most High's law, they're just going to learn what they see on social media. Mm-hmm. They're going to learn what their friends are telling them about what they see on social media. Man, your mom took your phone away. Shoot, man, I'd run away. I would do this and that. I would tear up the whole house.
Can I interject real quick?
Go ahead.
There was a second video to this, and the mom was explaining like that it wasn't just the phone, it was more also
mental health.
Yeah, mental health. And I think they start to use that because immediately when I saw that, you see spiritual, something just supernatural, because he broke the granite countertop
in the toilet
seat. Like, right. What? You immediately think superhuman and supernatural. And for the mere fact that a lot of us have gotten into this mental health, I don't even know what to call it, but just this mindset of mental health, that we don't see the spiritual behind the mental health part.
Right.
And that word mental health is dismissive. Dismissive because it doesn't have the same power, just like these other filthy languages don't have the same power as our phonetic Hebrew they'll use these other words to downplay what the real issue is. Exactly. This is a demon. This is a spiritual attack that's on this child. That's why I said in the very beginning, we're not dealing with just flesh. That's why we brought that precept out. Right. That's why you see on these movies, they have like the Poltergeist and the Exorcist. There'd be these scrawny little women and little children, and they grabbing grown men and throwing them across the room.
Yeah. Because
you see the child, but you don't see the spirit that's on the child that might have been a giant. So these are the times that we just come. These are the just like when it said in Barak, the specters and the evil spirits. We starting to see this stuff. We starting to see this stuff. That was a real good point. T, did you have anything else? Anybody else?
I did, but Mr. Walter just said something that what I was about to speak on, autism, the autism community, because I used to work with children who have autism, and a lot of people, hold on, wait, let me read what he said.
Yeah, to water about. Could you read that out for us?
Yeah, he was saying at the beginning, this is what happens when no father or no discipline is in the home. But then he responded again and said, my son is autistic and I'm always on him and keeping a good spirit over him. He knows I have the Most High Spirit in me and he sees it.
Yeah, and that makes a difference because the children that I worked with did not. And I can see, their demons. But a lot of people, I feel like, also shy away from it because they're fearful of seeing like the spirit and going into that realm. If that makes sense. It
makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. That's why.
That's good, Mr. Walter.
That's exactly right.
And does that tie into that scripture where it was talking about? I mean, I assume that it's talking about the last days where it will raise up like mothers against daughters against their mothers and mothers against their daughters and sons against the fathers and all of that. Like, does that even tie into that as well? Of, like you said, the disobedient children. Like at that point, you have no respect or no regard for your parents. You don't have no respect or regard for what they do or what they provide you. So would that tie into that scripture as well?
It could. And the reason I say that is because it's in our law that if your child gets to a certain point where they're just disobedient and you've taken them to the elders, you kill them. You kill them. And I know that's a hard saying for a lot of people that don't know of our ways, but this is the type of thing that you look at and you got to think to yourself, okay, if this child is doing this, you can't really sleep at night, because what happens if they do something as far as like take the video game away and then you try to go to sleep? Next thing you know, this child got a knife at your neck. Mm-hmm. So that particular precept could be used for that, but also because we know Yahushua said, think not that I come to bring peace in the earth. I'm not come to bring peace, but a sword. So the truth itself is going to set people at variance, because if your mother is trying to keep the law and you're not, you're going to war against one another. And if the child is trying to keep the law and the parents are not, you're still going to war against one another. So does that make sense? It's just one of them things. Like, this is why Shemaryah always says it's best if I just don't come around, because it's only but so much that I can take until I have to say something, because I'm still trying to strive to get to the kingdom too. And I know in the book of Ezekiel, the Most High said, if I made you a watchman, and if you go to these people and you see the calamity coming and you don't say nothing, the blood is going to be on your hands. They're going to die in their sin, but I'm going to require the blood at your hands. So even though the Most High was talking to Ezekiel, I still take those things to heart, because like Marah Abijah says, we're a nation of Nabayim, of prophets. We're the sons and daughters of the prophets. So we're literally living prophecies. Did Walt have anything?
I think he was just having a dialogue with Sister T about raising autism.
Yeah, go ahead and read that for us. Just, for the sake of the playback, because I don't think Mariah can see the comments.
Okay. She just said, I wish more parents did this with their children living with autism. He said, it's a hard job. I see a lot can't handle dealing with a child with autism. That's why I had to step up and be that parent for my son. Mom can't really deal with it. And she said, I know it is. My principal didn't even like coming into our classroom. You're right. A lot of people don't like to be even around children or people with autism.
So, once again, we got names and labels for all these different quote unquote mental disorders or illnesses. But us and our culture, these are just spiritual attacks. And this is why we pray and fast, because it's coming a time where the Most High is going to put his ruach on somebody. And you're going to be able to speak to that spirit. And it's going to come off your child. You're going to be able to speak. And somebody that's been paralyzed all their life going to get up and start walking. You're going to be able to speak. And people that are dead are going to get back up and come back. Realistically, we don't even have to speak. Yahweh actually spoke so we can believe. But go ahead, Gerald.
My bad. We just had like last maybe I think it was 2 weeks ago. I met with some ox out here that we meet in small group, and he did a lesson on spirits, like what you're talking about, and he was bringing out a lot of times with the label, with what they clinically label as retardation, or what they clinically label as disabilities, or whatever the case may be. Like a lot of cases, if you look scripturally, like you said, in the culture, the way Mashiach handled some of them things, I mean, he called the deaf dude that he healed deaf and dumb, blind and dumb, something like that. He said, right. And he was just like, how, like he called the spirit out of him, and he was just bringing out how, some of the people they tried to heal, tried to cast the spirits out, how they couldn't do it because he was like, some of them requires fasting. And then when you look at Legion, all of them, he broke down the text that talked about how you bring a spirit out of a person, and if they don't replace it with the Ruach, the demons come back, and they come deep next time. They come with more. He said next time they'll bring seven along with them. In the Legion, the actual definition of Legion is like, I think they said it was like 2,000 of them. When you look at it, like a legion of Roman soldiers is like 1,000. But in that case, I think it said it was 2,000 that was in Legion. So a lot of cases it is that when we see these people wilding out on the corners and stuff, we automatically, they drugged out, stuff like that. But sometimes, it's exactly what it is. It's evil spirits, in these people, and yeah, like if your faith's strong enough, when we get that ability to be able to do that again, you should be, because it was a direct connection to faith. We can't call these things out because I guess we coming out of captivity and we still ain't out of it enough. I guess where our faith ain't intact, we ain't restored back to the way we were. They was in the first century with a Mashiach. But you're right, you're hitting it right on the money. That was the point he was bringing with the lesson. Like it will be some of us at a point that's going to be able to, because of faith, be able to like call these spirits out, and these people will be able to speak again. But it just put it in perspective to show you just how the Most High and his son view these things, because we let man tell it. Man want to label it and call it all other types of stuff, and it's just like they do with everything else. They don't know. They just trying to label it.
And I feel like I can lay me back off of what he just said, because when I first got into the field of social work, I'm not gonna lie, I had a fear of individuals that were different from us. And I ended up getting this internship. Actually, it was a job working at a residential program for children that had disabilities or mental illnesses. And one of the children, now I'm a 5'11" strong woman, and he probably was like 6'3", 6'4", and he wore a helmet, and he was a child that had autism, and he was aggressive. And I never had, like, prior to me getting into this field, I was fearful, but I really feel like it was part of the Most High's plan to really get me out of that fear. So I ended up getting that job. But a lot of even the men staff would like be shook by him. But it was one particular moment where I was sitting in the day room and I was sitting with him, and he became aggressive to the point, like, of course, he started like banging his head and rocking back and forth really, really fast and all of that. And I just sat there and I really just like, I started speaking to him, though I didn't even really know what to say. I started speaking to him, and I slowly but surely seen that his rocking became slower. He started to calm down, and he was just like, I really just like people to talk to me. And I'm not gonna lie, it made me emotional, because I'm like, I know it was already in his history that his parents kind of neglected him. They really didn't pay attention to him and all of that. But just sitting there and really talking to him, and of course, back in that time, I probably didn't know that much about like spirits and all of that. But I knew that, the God quotation that was in me he was bigger than anything. So I was like, okay, at this point, I'm really going to sit and really talk to him, and to see that, like, he just calmed. He literally calmed down to the point where we was just having dialogue, and I can see, like, he ended up starting to smile and all of the different things. So like Gerald was saying, like that faith, you having faith, I mean, you got to believe that there's something greater than you that is within you. And I've always kind of been that young lady, I guess I'll say. But that's what it is. Sometimes you do have to face it head on, but you can have that genuine patient spirit to really be able to conquer might be the wrong word to use, but to really meet it, to really help to cast down. I really would say cast down whatever it is that patient or that child or that adult is experiencing. Like I've literally lived through that process. So I just wanted to share that experience.
All praises. All praises. So Joyce, go to Romans chapter 8, and we're going to move forward unless there's anything else. Romans chapter 8.
And I do see that Walt said the spirit in them kids can be really beautiful. My son's spirit is pure. She said, Sister T said, I agree. I loved my students. I never allowed their demons to scare me when they would get turned up. He said, Con, all praises. People wrote him off because of his condition, shaking my head. I feel for people that are different. That's why you can't be scared to embrace and give the love that you have in your heart to people. And that's a big con.
All praises.
All right, so Romans 8.
Read 35 through 37.
Starting at verse 35. Who shall separate us from the love of Hamashiach? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us.
Finish it out.
For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Yah, which is in Hamashiach Yahushua our Adonai.
Allah Yah. So you ain't off when you say those things, because we can do all things through Hamashiach who strengthens us. Because all power was given to him to judge righteously in the earth through those who can't come back by his blood. So we are the body. We are all one. We are the body, just like Voltron. And I know Marah always uses that similitude, but the head the head always connects to the body at the end. And that's how I think about how Hamashiach gonna come back. I don't want to go on a rant, but y'all know Voltron or Power Rangers, when the Megazord and will come together and the body forms first. And then at the very end, the head comes down and then the eyes light up. And that's when you know it's on. So that's what I always think about. You know, the Most High Spirit is moving in the earth, and his power is gonna be recognized through all of it. So all praises for that. I appreciate everybody's input on that. But moving right along, if anybody, any more comments, anything, I don't want to shortchange anybody. Okay, so we're going through this whole process of the spiritual warfare, but let's let's separate ourselves from the wickedness of the world real quick, and let's get into what's going to happen after that. So Deuteronomy chapter 30 verses 1 through 7. We bring this out all the time, but I felt it to be necessary for today's word too. So Deuteronomy chapter 30 verses 1 through 7. Joyce, whenever you're ready.
And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether Yahweh thy Elohim hath driven thee, and shalt return unto Yahweh thy Elohim, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy Elohim will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and shall return and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whether Yahweh thy Elohim has scattered thee. If any of thine be driven the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Elohim gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee, and Yahweh thy Elohim will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Yahweh thy Elohim will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy Elohim with all thine heart and with all thy soul, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And Yahweh thy Elohim will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee.
So notice, I appreciate you for reading right there, Joyce. Notice how thine enemies is underlined and bold. So we're getting into a time where the body is starting to wake up. The body is starting to come out of his grave. We're starting to wake up out of our grave. Because I don't know if y'all notice or not, but these lands of captivity, America, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Australia, et cetera, these are our graves. Because these are not Tazion, it's not Yerushalayim, Zion, Jerusalem, it's not Israel, it's not our homeland, Yasharallah. So anywhere outside of our homeland is death to us. But by the Most High Spirit, he's starting to wake us up out of our slumber, out of our graves. Yahushua is calling us out to come out of there. And these curses, which were on us by the law, this is in the Baryam, Deuteronomy 31 through 7. This is Masha talking, Moses. By law, when we come back, these curses that were on us are going to go on our enemies who hated us. So let's see what type of curses. Of course, we know what type of curses they was dealing with. And shout out to Salt of the Earth for this visual. This is where I got it from. I try to give credit where credit is due. I got this image from Salt of the Earth. And I think is definitely a great visual, just so you can see exactly what was experienced. Because some of these things we've read in some of these other precepts, as far as the hail and fire, as far as the death, the pestilence and famine and all of these things. But let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra. chapter 15.
Brother Walt asks, do we all here believe we are in Jacob's trouble, or it hasn't happened yet?
So Khan, Walt, I definitely believe we're in Jacob's trouble. I believe Jacob's trouble has been going on since we got the fall of 70 AD, when the fall of Jerusalem happened. Because if you went and told a slave back in the 1700s, yeah, man, there's gonna be a time where you're gonna be able to work at a job and provide for yourself, but they're gonna pretend to like you in front of your face and then not like you behind your back. They're like, well, shoot, sign me up, because they over here killing us to our face and starving us to death and burning us alive, killing our women. You know what I'm saying? So Shamaria will be good to expound on that a little bit more, or Gerald, or whoever else. Like I say, man, this is an open dialogue. So, but I definitely believe that we have been in Jacob's trouble for a long time. And this is why this has been so heavy on me, because for those who read the Sefer, the Apocrypha, you're seeing all this destruction that's still to come. And it's been on me like, well, Yah and Second Ezra, you told me not to worry about how the wicked gonna be condemned, but you told Ezra how to meditate on how the righteous gonna be delivered. And that's what I want to know, because all this destruction I'm reading, I want to know, how can we get away from that? Like, let's get on out of here.
Yeah, Khan, Shalaki, I agree. I land me back on what you just said. I actually think we are approaching the plagues. If we're not already in them, we're approaching the plagues of Israel to let my people go. I think Jacob's trouble is wrapping up. I think that the pinnacle of Jacob's trouble was the Dark Ages, when they was torturing people just for, they knew. I mean, to be a witness means to be a martyr. I mean, if we being honest, I mean, they understood to follow Christ at that time meant they was gonna die, and then you look at the Dark Ages, everything they went through Rome, under Rome's umbrella, and then look at the 1300s, when if you even had a Bible in a common language, you was getting dealt with, right. Just because they didn't want people to have it in a common language. So, and then slavery. I mean, come on now, what atrocities get worse than that, from my understanding? I mean, the Dark Ages was probably just as bad, but that's recent. That's in the last 600 years, what was happening to our people, with slavery and the Emmett Till stuff, So I think we're kind of coming, and scripturally it could be supported. I think when you look at Revelations 14, the harvest gathering comes before the winepress judgment. But you got to remember, his call is telling his people to get out of Babylon if you don't want to share with her and her plagues. So if you in it, you're going to get the business. If you out of it, I believe the harvest gathering, he's going to always save a remnant like he always did. And you got to remember, Christ was talking to one of the churches in Revelations that if you be obedient, if you listen, I will keep you from the hour of test. Well, the scarlet colored wild beast, the eighth king, and the kings of the earth, they rule for 1 hour. And that's who Christ is going to come and deal with. So I do think that we are approaching a time where we're going to get up out of here, and he's going to let us avoid the calamity as long as we are obedient. Now, some of us will die. That's why Revelations 14 say anybody die from this point forward, your faith do follow you, your reward do follow you for your works. But I think for the most part, a remnant will be protected from the hour of test, like he's always done when it came to judgment. My bad for being so long-winded.
It's all right. And it's all praises, because I was thinking about putting some of the precepts in here, but I didn't know how long the presentation was going to be, and I didn't want to have it too long-winded. But that's, since you brought it up, this is another thing that I was looking at, because in Second Barak it's saying, and in Second Ezra it's saying, when these things happen, I'm only going to protect those who are found in this land. So that, to my understanding, Walt, my understanding is just like Gerald said, there's going to be a gathering of people into the wilderness for a time. And those who didn't choose to come out with that remnant, you're going to have to endure through these judgments right here. And whether it be, you know, you lose your life, whether it be you somehow make it through, you're going to have to endure to up to the point until it's the end. But that's just what I see when I read the witnesses. If you want to, if you want to go over it a little bit after the Zoom, because I don't want to lose anybody either. But if you want to talk to it on another time or anything, then I'll just present you with the witnesses that have me thinking this way, and we can, you know, we can dialogue afterwards. But is there any more other comments or anything like that?
There were, so I don't know if you had seen what Brother Walt had put in. He said some of the camps believe we will be hunted as Israelites soon, and our people will give us up. Yes, Sister T responded and said, interesting, but are we not being hunted already? Parentheses, police versus us, fame versus us, etc. Or they're saying even more so? Question mark.
So that was kind of what I was answering. I figured out the way to pull the chat up. I definitely appreciate y'all still reading the responses out though. But that's kind of what I was touching on.
Yeah.
Yahweh, remember in Matthew and Luke, Yahushua said, you're going to be offered up and killed for my sake. Now, at the time, he was talking to the disciples, but we know the truth is going to become terrorism in these days. This world full of lies and deception and wickedness, telling the truth is going to get you killed. And that's another thing that I was reading in the book of Baruch. In those times when these things start happening, the people that have wisdom are going to start being quiet. You're just going to start moving. You're going to have discernment to keep your mouth shut. Because now the time for talking is over. It's time to endure. So that's why, you know, it gets kind of, for me, I don't have enough understanding to put all the pieces in its proper order. But I do have witnesses that shows Walt is right as far as my understanding goes. I do believe that there are some Israelites, and I mentioned this before in the class. I think like some of those camps are going to be the martyrs. They're going to be the martyrs because those Akim out there, they have the spirit to be ready to go to war already. So I do believe some of us are going to be martyred for the name of Yahushua. But I also see where some of us are going to escape the judgments, because Yahushua wouldn't have said it if that wasn't the case. Pray always that you count it worthy to escape the judgments. So when you start seeing these signs, you'll know to be a nomad in the earth, be a pilgrim. So be ready to move at any time. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah, so Salaki, 1000% kind. And I think that's how the Revelations 12 ties in, talking about not 12, Revelations chapter 10 that talks about the two. It's 11. It's 11 that talks about the two witnesses. I do think it ain't by chance that it's talking about they lie dead in the streets. I do think it will be some that with that spirit, like you said, that's going to get it. But ultimately, I think wisdom does lie in those who take heed and flee to the mountains and flee to the wilderness, so to speak. Because the reality is we see all these promises of you know, the first resurrection and the second resurrection. And the first resurrection is those who were martyred, who was beheaded and then received the beast. But in order to be resurrected, you got to die. The reality is not all righteous people are going to die. Some of us are going to experience the land. Some of us are going to go into the wilderness and not going to die, you know, and I don't think it's by coincidence that Revelations 14, when talking about the harvest gathering, it cross-referenced Jeremiah 50, which clearly talks about, you know, how people out of fear of what's going on, every man would flee to his own land. Mm-hmm. Well, that includes us too, you know. So I think you're right on it. I do think we're going to be on our way, if in the wilderness, on the way to the land, And that's when people are going to be like, oh, shoot, it's going to already be exposed who the real people is. Some people are going to be like, we following y'all. Some people are going to be like, I'm so afraid I'm going back to my own land, or whatever the case may be. But so it will be bloodshed, but ultimately, I don't think we all gotta fear, this. Well, I mean, yeah, you could very well be a martyr for standing for truth, but I do think the scriptures is full of admiration that we can, if faithful, be protected from the hour of test. So me personally, I don't look forward to dying. I want to be a part of the remnant, that get up out of here, but if I die, I die. I die faithful. That's my goal, but yeah, I just wanted to add that in.
Because
All right. So if there aren't any other comments or anything like that,
I have one.
Go ahead.
So when we say the wilderness, I know back then is literal wilderness, but today it's just like we have all these houses that are being built, trees being torn down. There's no like large farmland anywhere. So when we say wilderness today, what does that look like? Like what?
Okay, well, I wasn't this is another precept that I was going to put in, but I chose not to because, like I say, I didn't want this thing to be too long. But, the Spirit just bearing witness. So, go to 2nd Ezra. Let me see. I might have it. Hold that thought, Sister T. I think I did put it in here. Hold that thought though. Hold that thought. And we'll come back to it. Just remember your thought. Put it in the comments if just in case, just so we can double back to it at the end. But let's see, because I think I did put it in here. But that is a good question. So moving forward, Joyce, are you in position to read the precept 2nd Ezra 15, 11 and 12?
2nd Ezra. Give me just 1 second. 2nd Ezra. You said 15, 11, and 12?
Yeah, it's on the screen as well if you wanted to do it that way.
Oh, okay.
Change the words so it'll be easier to read.
Okay. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before and will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yah shall bring upon it.
Now, we know Egypt didn't exist. That word Matazarayim is the word here. That means the house of bondage. So it's not necessarily talking about one specific landmass. We know we're in Matazarayim, or the house of bondage, throughout the four corners of the earth. So these plagues, it didn't say he's going to bring the exact plagues. He said he's going to smite Egypt with plagues as before. So I want y'all to hold on to that. This is where it's going to start getting a little graphic and heavy, y'all. So I just want to make sure I'm preparing y'all for this. Let me go ahead. Here we go. So now we transition into the recompense. And we know that word reward don't necessarily always mean a good thing, because there's a reward for the righteous and a reward for the wicked. So skip down that same chapter, Joyce, 2nd Ezra chapter 4, 2nd Ezra chapter 15, excuse me, verse 49. Or if you got it's 4th Ezra.
I will send plagues upon you, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste your house with the destruction and death.
So pestilence, for people that don't know, could be looked at as disease. And we already know what disease is plaguing, at least over here in America. So let's see what's happening. Let's see what else we can see in the earth happening that the media ain't talking about. So this is San Francisco on the left side, San Jose on the right side. So, you know, Gerald, I wish Abshaya was in here too, so he'll be able to dialogue on what y'all see. But I was only familiar with Skid Row in LA. But when I watched this right here, you can look at, you know, America is one situation away from being a third world country. Just check this out, y'all. I'm gonna play both of them at the same time.
Is she beating somebody with a broom?
Hey, Pop! Pop!
So as y'all can see, I don't know, you know, how familiar people are with those areas, but these videos were both captured in two different cities in the same day. And like I said, I'm only familiar with LA, but you thinking on that right video, I'm like, man, they have a Sakai out there. But it's just so hard out there that people, the cost of living is so high with inflation. Man, this place is so poverty stricken. But with the media, the power of the media, you would think that America the Great, Babylon the Great, this is one of the richest countries in the world. And that couldn't be any far further from the truth. So did T said, nice. That's something I want to learn how to make it outside. Question was, what is the wilderness today? Okay, right. Okay, right. That's the question that you posted. All right, we'll come back to it. So we're starting to see the poverty manifest. Of course, we already know like other major cities like New York City, some parts of Texas, because I went down there and visited friends, and it wasn't, you know, every state got a hood. Every city got a hood somewhere. But this is just on a completely different level of, man, how can they let their people live like this? When you got all of these multi-billion, trillion-dollar companies, and you got people out here who are in wheelchairs that have to live in the streets. Like what the level of wickedness, it just hurts my heart, because most of the people out here you see are our people. But let's move on. If nobody has any comments or anything, we're just gonna move on. So now transition into the hyperinflation, which is ultimately gonna lead to famine. And there are multiple videos I could have posted on this one, but I just left it at this one right here, just to, you know, you get the point.
So I got in a conversation today, and the woman, honestly, bless her heart, honestly thinks that food prices are not going to go up. She thinks that this is the highest they're going to go. I tried to explain to her that that was not the case, that they're absolutely going to go up even more. And I told her there are things that like we have to buy. There's something we had to buy that 2 years ago cost us $24. Last year was about $46. This year it is costing us $96. Okay. Local farmer, 50 head of cattle. It's costing him $8,000 a month to feed them. Please understand, food prices are going to go up. You want to act like it's the farmer's fault. It is not the farmer's fault. We're barely making it to grow the stuff so you guys are able to get it in August, September, October.
So this is one of the farmers pretty much letting you know. Now, this video was back in June. You can imagine how bad and how much more expensive things have gotten in these past couple of months. I work at a grocery store and I can see prices of items that have gone up 100% since this time. A 6-pack carton of eggs was 79 cents at one point. They were 69 cents. Then they went up to 79, 89 cents. To today, they are 199 for a 6-pack carton of eggs. So this inflation is like a domino effect that's essentially going to collapse the economy. But it's all by design, because going back into the conversation earlier, these people are witches and they believe in the order out of chaos. That's what they believe. So if you want to control a people, the number one thing you control is the food supply, which leads to thinking about why so many of these big business owners and CEOs like Bill Gates stepped down from their CEO at their company and they bought up a bunch of farmland. You know, all of these things tie in to the bigger agenda of implementing this new world order and causing people, not forcing them, causing them to get marked by the beast. Because when the situation gets so bad and your children need to eat, but your faith hasn't been established and built, you're going to be caused to get whatever the beast wants you to get in order to live in his world, because your faith ain't built up. Does that make sense? Anybody want to comment on that? Okay, so moving along. This is in Mexico. And as you can see on the headline, it says, in drought plagued northern Mexico, tens of thousands of cows are starving to death. And you know, sometimes when you look at these screenshots, you're like, all right, man, that might be cap. But that's why I wanted to have a video to show you somebody in Mexico. Now, look at the caption on the left video. It says Mexico heat wave. So one of the big things they talking about is global warming, this and that. When in reality, you see in the background, look at all that greenery back there. So how can global warming and drought be affecting stuff like this? But you got green grass and trees back there. Like I said, the witchcraft that they use, the witchcraft. Brother, oh, well, they did. I thoroughly believe they killed the cows too.
Right.
You know, it's still, go ahead. Somebody about to say something?
No, I just was agreeing.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, just watch this. So to give y'all perspective, one of those cows can feed just about every single one of us for an entire winter. Those cows weigh tons. And there are thousands of them who have been, whether they died of natural causes or they were allegedly killed. I'm going to say it like that because I don't want to get Mariah in trouble if you post this. But it shows you that something is happening in the earth that we haven't seen until our generation, something that we need to prepare our hearts and minds for and get ready for. But let me get one more witness in regards to, you know, what I've been showing. This is one of the videos from the Aachen Truth Unedited. This was a pretty good clip, so I decided to record it and show it just for the sake of tying into what we're talking about right here.
Not only is there economic, our daily life all around the world is going to get harder because there is a food crisis about to hit as well. Also add to that an energy crisis. All throughout this year, we have been hearing warnings about food manufacturing. They have been warning what the Ukraine war is doing to food manufacturing and food shortages. They have been warning about supply chains. The world is going to have to deal with a food shortage that will begin to take form and absolutely felt in 2023.
This morning, the U.S. and the world bracing for food shortages as the war in Ukraine rages on. President Biden, speaking to NATO leaders in Brussels Thursday, said because of sanctions on Russia, food shortages are coming.
The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia. It's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well.
The U.S., Canada, and Europe are major wheat producers, but Ukraine and Russia produce about 1/3 of the world's supply, and less food means higher prices.
The acceleration of already high food, fertilizer, and food prices has triggered a global crisis that could drive millions more into extreme poverty, magnifying hunger and malnutrition, while threatening to raise the global humanitarian caseload to new highs and erase hard-won development gains.
Food pricing is our #1 problem right now as a result of all this perfect storm for 2022. But 2023, it very well will be a food availability problem.
If you have not placed this in your awareness, you must do so now. There is also an energy crisis coming. This is very specific to Europe, but it will affect everyone. Russia has shut off natural gas to Europe indefinitely.
It looks so mundane, and yet it is so important. This is the Nord Stream pipeline, which has long brought gas from Russia to Europe. It's a mainstay for untold millions of people. And now it sits idle, switched off by its operator, Gazprom, Russia's biggest company, controlled by the Kremlin. It's an act of economic aggression that could be as consequential as it was inevitable. There are 5 main gas supply routes between Russia and Europe. Nord Stream 1 is the biggest pipeline running from Russia to Germany. Before the war, it was delivering more than 150 million cubic meters of gas per day. In June, Gazprom cut that flow to around 60 million because it said of annual maintenance. But in August, the flow dropped again, now down to about 20% of capacity, and European gas prices doubled as a result. Then on Wednesday, Gazprom halted the flow of gas completely, citing a leak in the main gas turbine. And now the company says Nord Stream will remain closed indefinitely. This is the oil leak Gazprom claims to have hobbled the pipeline. Few think it's a plausible excuse.
And this coming winter will be a very difficult one because there will not be enough power to heat homes and businesses.
Joyce, if you don't mind, could you go to Psalm chapter 33? And whenever you get there, Psalm chapter 33, read verses 18 and 19. I wanted to play the video of this first before we read it.
Psalms 33, verse 18. Behold, the eye of Yahweh is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine.
So, you know, that goes into what we're talking about now regarding the things to come. It also speaks to what we were talking about earlier. The Most High will keep you from death. How many times do you really notice the phrase when the Most High talks about his law, and then it's the phrase, which if a man do, he shall even live in them. If you go back when you do your studies, look at how many times that's spoken throughout the generations. And the Most High makes it a point. I am life. You aren't going to die. Even if you get put to sleep, you're not, death isn't something that exists over here with me. So, you know, I wanted to, even though I'm showing you these things, I just want to bring awareness at the same time of building faith, because I'm gonna tell y'all right now, there ain't enough water we can collect. There ain't enough bullets we can get. We don't have big enough guns. We have zero power. This thing is specifically going to come down to what we read in Romans regarding Father Abraham, faith. The Most High said he's going to deliver us from death and feed us and take care of us in famine. He's going to be the light in our darkness. And it's going to come a point in time that we're going to have to prove by our works and faith that we believe him. Now, of course, we still do what we're supposed to do as far as preparing the best way we can, because we don't want to be irresponsible. But we still, it's ultimately going to have to come down to the Most High, because there ain't nothing, you know how much people are willing to go through when they get desperate. They gonna scour the earth for food. They gonna scour the earth for something to drink. The same people they say they love, they gonna become enemies. And I'm gonna show you how they gonna brother Walt. Walt, he gives us everything we need to survive. I'm gonna show you how they setting up the stage for this level of wickedness, though. I'm gonna show you how they setting up the stage. Watch this right here. Now, this is very real. I want y'all to take a second to read that on the left, because earlier, y'all remember I mentioned Divergent and how it took place in Chicago, Illinois. I want y'all to read this before I play this video. It says Illinois, non-detainable offenses beginning January the 1st, 2023. Aggravated battery, aggravated DUI, aggravated fleeing, arson, burglary, drug-induced homicide, intimidation, kidnapping, robbery, second-degree murder, threatening a public official. And then at the very bottom, it says, under this new law, after being charged with the crimes listed, those arrested would be released without bail pending a court date. Right, Sister T, right. Now, you wouldn't have believed this until they started bringing all these witnesses out. But this is Tucker Carlson. He's a major news journalist on Fox News. Let's listen to what he got to say.
In January, police in the state of Illinois will be banned from removing trespassers from your property. The Democrat-controlled legislature just passed that law. Effectively, they have legalized home invasions. And there will likely be many more of those, because starting next year, the Safety Act, just passed in Illinois, will let violent felons out of jail with no bail. Actual violent felons, people who committed crimes like second-degree murder and arson and kidnapping. What will happen then? Well, I think we know, because it's been tried in other places, like New York City, where people are regularly shot, beaten, and robbed in public. People who could not be held behind bars because Democrats decided that was mean. They're worried about the criminals and not worried about you. And once again, to restate, if you siloed Hispanic voters into this one specific group whose concerns are totally different from everyone else's, you're missing the thread. That's not true. Hispanic voters, like every other voter of every race. They don't like crime and violence, but it's everywhere. These clips are all from the last month.
People sitting outside suddenly scramble to get out of the way as one man pops out of the sunroof and another out of the passenger window. they both start shooting.
An arrest is made in this brutal, cowardly sucker punch at the Kings Plaza Mall. Police say 21-year-old Jaheim David is facing assault charges. Surveillance video from the S40 MTA bus caught the incident on August 13th. It shows the suspect walking up to a 64-year-old victim who is sitting in that wheelchair. Cops say he grabbed $250 from the man.
The man got into a dispute with some others at that location. One of them hit him with a baseball bat, and another punched him in the face.
Surveillance video caught them as they went up to a 28-year-old victim and her friend. The two were walking on the sidewalk when the duo went up to them and tried to grab, according to detectives, the victim's necklace from her neck. Police say the trio rode onto the sidewalk and the passengers from the dirt bike jumped off and forcibly removed a Rolex watch from the victim's wrist.
What country is this? It didn't used to be America. This is not organic. We didn't used to live like this. Liberals did this. They did this on purpose. They created more crime. It didn't just happen, and the numbers couldn't be clearer on that. Any Republican running for office this cycle, which is to say the month after next, who isn't running on this is an idiot, because everyone knows it's happening, of all colors. Just today, local media in New York reported that a 21-year-old tourist was kidnapped and raped on a subway platform by a stranger. Are you shocked by that? You shouldn't be. That's what happens when you stop enforcing the law. That's what happens when you put the interests of criminals above those of citizens. Everyone can see what's happening, no matter what color they are. Democrats should not be surprised when they're punished for it.
So ultimately, we know that, you know, this man being for his country and nation, I'm all, you know, I respect it. If I was a blue collar patriot, I would be trying to figure out a solution for my nation too. But for us as Yashar Allah, we know that this is judgment and recompense. And this is the thing being returned upon their own head, because they, you know, this is what they sowed in the earth. So this is what they're gonna have to reap. But I wanted to point out the fact that notice that they mentioned the state of Illinois, and look at these laws. Now, when you hear Illinois, and anybody can unmute themselves, what city do you think about? Even if I didn't say anything this whole time, what city would you think about when it came down to these laws? What's the first one that comes to your mind in the state of Illinois? Anybody?
Chicago.
Exactly right, Sister Corinne. Chicago. Now, I'm going to show you the subtlety and crafty counsel of Hasatan. At least this is what I saw. Most of our people in the state of Illinois are in the area of Chicago. Most of our people in the area of Chicago, Illinois, do not own their own property, because most of us in the whole world don't. So for them to say and put these laws in place, this is how I processed it. Because what Tucker didn't really necessarily bring it up in this video, but there's another video confirming that this is a real thing they're going to implement in January the 1st, 2023. You will no longer be reprimanded for trespassing. You will no longer be reprimanded by the authorities of the police for trespassing. So if Sister Corinne, at your house, somebody can come and live in your barn and the police can't do anything about it but write them a ticket. What the man said in the video is you have to be the judge as far as what force is to be implemented and if it's legal. So when you look at everything that we've been talking about, and it kind of goes into Sister T's question, and I really hope I got it up here, but if not, I got the precept to kind of put it all together. If our people get put out on the streets because inflation is too much, we don't have enough money, because most of our people are impoverished. We are poor, point blank. So we aren't going to be able to keep up with all these payments, and the mortgages keep going up. the rent keep going up, we ain't gonna be able to afford it. So we're gonna get put out on the street. We're gonna be out in the wilderness of the people, so to speak. What do they call New York, T? They call it the concrete jungle. It's like a wilderness, so to speak. So when we're out here just trying to have shelter, put a roof over our head for the night, go on somebody's barn, try to be as quiet as possible, all they got to do is just so happen go in there with their shotgun. You know they ain't going to ask questions. So, Walt, is exactly what you were saying regarding the Georgia Guidestones. This is what they're trying to, I can't help but think this is what they're trying to do to initiate a type of purge or quote unquote cleansing to sift out some of the weak. Yeah, this is where that, I think of that phrase, only the strong survive in this type of situation, because you really gonna be out here. This is a situation where everybody's gonna get turned on one another. It's about surviving. And unless you have the Most High Spirit, unless you have that mashapat, unless you have that on you, it's gonna be every man for himself, y'all. But I'm gonna show you the predictive programming that they did and they've been doing for years. This is back in 2013. And this is the movie, The Purge. This is the first one that came out in 2013. Watch this.
Tonight allows people a release for all the hatred and violence that they keep up inside them.
Why don't you guys kill someone tonight?
Because we don't feel the need to, Johnny.
Just remember all the good the purge does.
We'll be fine just like always. No worries, okay?
This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge. At the siren, all emergency services will be suspended for 12 hours. Your government thanks you for your participation.
Someone please help me! I just need to get someone safe. Does anybody hear me?
This way! This way, hurry!
Why did you let him in our home? We have no idea who's after him.
Our target for this just purge is hiding in your home. You have 1 hour to find him and get him to us, or we'll kill all of you.
They can't get in here, right? They can't get into our home.
Tonight, and everything is gonna be okay.
Nothing is ever going to be okay again.
So notice the symbolism in this trailer. It has the sun, and then of course America reborn, the nation reborn, like the phoenix rising. They believe in, I don't want to get too deep into that, but you see, out of everybody that's out trying to survive is one Israelite that's trying to seek refuge. And I didn't even really notice that until I just watched it with y'all right then. So Now, this movie, they went on to make 3 or 4 more other Purge movies. But this just shows you the predictive programming, the conditioning, the spiritual warfare. Because when they show you these things over and over again, it desensitizes you to it to allow you to accept it easier. So, notice these crazy things that we're seeing, and ain't nobody gonna pay it no mind. But what does the text say? It's gonna come up on people like a thief in the night. People don't care right now, but once that rain comes, once that fire start falling from the Shemayim, from heaven, it's gonna be too late then. So now this is where it gets graphic, y'all. This is the part I'm talking about. So I want y'all to really see, because there are things we're going to see that we're going to have to endure. And I want, of course it doesn't feel good because we've been so domesticated and we soft. We're really just soft. But in these days to come, there's going to be things happening that we got to be willing to endure through it. And that's all I'll say. So moving on to one of the next curses. Before I move forward though, does anybody have any comments or anything? Joyce, do you want to read anything from the chat?
Shalom, I got a comment.
Go ahead, Shamar. Shalom.
Yeah, one thing too, that there's a movie, I don't know which one it is, but it's the first, I think it's called The First Purge, I ain't for sure. But that one is, to me, what they're trying to do in Chicago, where it was pretty much a community of our people, and they were trying to pay them to participate in the purge and and then when you see the behind the scenes in the movie, they were trying to get them to destroy themselves for some political reason. I ain't seen that in a while. But that one, I feel like really shows like the true agenda of what they're trying to do, but also too, because I see like reading in the chat, I don't want the message to get confused. This is not gonna work. It's not gonna work the way that they think it is, because the Most High, one of his judgments is to have them kill themselves.
Right.
So that's what's getting ready to happen. They're going to be destroying each other, and then our ignorant brothers and sisters will probably get caught up in the crossfires, because even in this, it's mercy, because the Most High, move, leave Chicago. There's no reason that you can see that ahead of time. But a lot of our people are not following the spirit. Like if I lived there, I would have to move. I would have to move, because the law says, and like I told the fellas in the chat, the law is 613 or 163 or whatever the case may be. It's telling you the agenda that they have behind it. House Bill 163 or something like that. But it's intended. They're trying to target our people, because we, like you said, we are heavily populated, especially in Chicago specifically, but it's really gonna backfire. And I believe it's gonna be the Most High using one of his plagues and that he said he was gonna do, and which is to have them kill each other. Because you can literally murder somebody and get away with it. Like it just straight up says you can murder somebody. You can hit somebody with a car and that's it. You good. So yeah, that's I just wanted to make that comment. Don't be fearful that it's gonna, do something to cause harm to you. For one, we invincible. Like if you following the law, Nariah said it earlier, you can't die. Like you can only die when the Most High is done with you. And if you follow his law, statutes, and commandments, then there is no death. Like you'll just be resurrected. So like when you have faith in what the text and the covenant stands for, like this stuff is not, they're trying to attack us, the enemy, but they don't know that it's the Most High guiding them to destroy themselves. That's how I see it.
All praises for that. All praises for that. I'm glad that you touched on it and articulated it that way, because I didn't want like I said, I didn't want the message to get confused. And that's why I tried to put witnesses in there just to let you know, hey, this is the reward for the wicked. This is the reward for the wicked we're talking about right here. So, is there any other comments? Appreciate that.
No, we was just responding in the chat. I actually misspoke because I think I had just read the message about buying guns and such. And then I was like, well, now they don't, in my mind, I was like, nah, they don't even matter because that stuff is running out. But of course, like they were saying, it's not running out. They're just hoping it for who is able to have access to it. And you can see that even when you're going into the gun stores and trying to buy bullets and all that, they're limiting the amount that you can buy. And even when it comes to like concealed carry classes and all of that, some of these white people don't want to work with individuals that are Black. So, I was correcting my statement that I said regarding the guns and, ammo or whatever is running out. But I just responded quick. That's all.
Yeah. And we just got to remember, the Most High is our sword, our shield, our buckler. He is our strong tower. He is our protection. We don't need any of this stuff, really. Where we got these things because we see in the text where there were times where Hamashiach said, sell everything you got and buy you a sword. Matter of fact, get 2 of them. There are times where the Most High was like, okay, I'm about to bring this famine. So Joseph or Yahweh, I'm about to give you the interpretation of dreams so you can preserve the nation. Things like that. So just like Shamar said, we want to be responsible and listen to the spirit when it speaks. But, ultimately, all we really got to do is just listen when the Most High speak, and we're going to be good. But I'm just going to show you with this video right here how close we are to this recompense of the wicked. Now, this is graphic, y'all. So anybody who's got a weak stomach or, don't like looking at stuff that's like this, just prepare yourself. So you looking at a place that supposedly still should have laws in place. But realistically speaking, because I personally know a detective in law enforcement, and he's told me out of his own mouth that it's so many crimes that are committed that we really don't know how to get to the bottom of, because what they show on TV isn't what they really do. You look at these companies in regards to the recession, in regards to inflation, and that everybody's being affected by this. So a lot of these precincts don't have the resources to put towards these extensive investigations. Now, if they doing this now, what in the world is this thing going to look like? Just for the sake of staying on topic, what is Illinois going to look like by, don't let it keep going to football season. For anybody who are familiar with sports, where the Packers and the Bears play in Soldier Field, that's like starting the war all on its own. So this thing is getting to the brim, y'all. It's getting to the brim. But with that video, that's it as far as like the graphics of it. But I just wanted to prepare y'all because I didn't want anything to catch y'all off guard. Anyway, moving along. We getting to the end, y'all. We're getting to the end. Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1. Now we're getting to the later end of it. Enjoy it whenever you get a chance. Verses 27 and 28.
And likewise, also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one one toward another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves the recompense of their error, which was meat. And even as they did not like to retain Yahweh in their knowledge, Elohim gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which they are not convenient.
All right. So
not convenient.
So the language here, pretty self-explanatory. The men left the women, the natural use of the women as far as intimacy, and they chose to lie with each other, like Sodom and Gomorrah, men with men. But they received in themselves a recompense of their error, which was meat. So let's see if we can see that going on. Could you read Deuteronomy 28, 60 and 61 real quick, Joyce? Because remember now, we said earlier in Deuteronomy 30 that when we repent and turn back, these same curses are going to go on our enemies that hate us. So read that for me, Joyce.
Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, or Matazariam, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, then will Yahweh bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
Okay. Now we know it is against the law of the Most High for a man to lie with another man the way he lies with a woman. So homosexuality, lesbianism, all of these things is abominable to the Most High. Can you read that article title for me, Joyce?
Monkeypox is being driven overwhelmingly by sex between men, major study finds. Of the 528 confirmed cases reviewed, 95% are believed to have transmitted during sex between men, according to a new paper in the New England Journal of Medicine.
Okay, Sister Corinne, I see you. Sister Corinne says Psalm chapter 17, verses 7 through 13.
Yes.
Can you read that for us real quick, Joyce? I don't want to skip over nobody.
And I think that was going towards like the justice against his enemies. But it says verse 7, show thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou that saveth by thy right hand them which put their trust in thee from those that rise up against them. Keep me as the apple of the eye. Hold me under the shadow of thy wings. From the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who compass me about. They are enclosed in their own fat, with their mouth they speak proudly. They have now compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth. Like as a lion, they are greedy of his prey, and as it were a young lion lurking in secret places. Arise, O Yahweh, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword.
Praises. Thank you for that, Sister Corinne. That's exactly right. So you just see over and over and over again, when you put your faith in the Most High and you obey his word, you are pretty much securing yourself to salvation. That's what Shemaryah brought out, last year, as far as what salvation actually is. Salvation is a physical thing. It is a physical thing. So in order to attain salvation, you got to do what the Most High say. If you see traffic coming on the left side of the highway and you on the left side of the highway and the Most High telling you to go right, get on the right side, but you stay on the left, you can't be mad at the Most High when you get smacked by an 18-wheeler. So all praises for that. Moving along, here's another witness to what we just read. Joyce, could you start on the left?
Left. First case of monkeypox virus, SARS-CoV-2, and HIV co-infection.
Just start at the top, right?
Since January 2022, more than 16,000 people in over 74 countries have been affected by monkeypox, prompting the World Health Organization to declare this outbreak of public health emergency and international concern. Human-to-human transmission occurs through close contact with infectious material from skin lesions, fomites, seminal fluids, and oropharyngeal secretions. The majority of cases were registered in gay and bisexual men, often suffering from other STIs. At the same time, SARS-CoV-2 is still a major cause of morbidity and mortality globally.
Okay.
Mortality, sorry, globally.
All right.
On it. Oh, sorry.
So what we're going to see here is we're going to see a case of a gay or bisexual man that has contracted COVID, HIV, and monkeypox. All right, go ahead, Joyce.
On admission, the patient reported being treated for syphilis in 2019. In September 2021, he performed an HIV test with a negative result.
So in 2021, this result for HIV was negative. Okay, keep going.
He suffered from bipolar disorder, for which he regularly took carbamazepine, 200 milligrams daily. He was vaccinated for SARS-CoV-2 with 2 doses of Pfizer's BNT 162b2 mRNA vaccine, the last in December 2021.
So he's triple vaccinated.
And had already contracted COVID-19 in 2022 of January.
Okay.
He also reported of having condomless intercourse with men during his stay in Spain.
All right, that's good right there. You can go to the next one.
Our patient, an Italian 36-year-old male, spent 5 days in Spain from 16 to 20 June 2022.
So this is some months later, about 7 months later, from him being triple glazed up and having a negative result regarding HIV. Keep going, Joyce.
9 days after, he developed fever accompanied by sore throat, fatigue, headache, and right inguinal on July 2nd, he resulted positive of SARS-CoV-2.
Okay, now we're going to go to the next one. That's just talking about the symptoms and all of those things, the pains that he had and all of that. All right.
Our case emphasizes that sexual intercourse could be the predominant way of transmission. Therefore, complete STI screenings is recommended after a diagnosis of monkeypox. In fact, our patient tested positive for HIV-1, and given his preserved CD4 lymphocyte count, he could assume that the infection was relatively recent. To note, the monkeypox oropharyngeal swab was still positive after 20 days, suggesting that these individuals may still be contagious for several days after clinical remission.
You can stop right there. So the point is, this is a result of one or two things. Either one, that glaze don't work, which we all know it don't. Or two, the recompense that was meet because you're doing things that are abominable to the Most High. Either way, these are these curses that are going to come on people because of their disobedience to want to turn back to the Most High. Because instead of people repenting and turning away from their ways, they're going to say, the Most High ain't fair. He made me this way. He knows my heart. And people end up dying in their sin. So that's pretty much Khan. That's exactly right. Well, the result of doing something you shouldn't be doing. That's exactly right.
Khan.
So these things are really starting. The Most High is really doing work out here, and I'm still under the understanding that these are just the beginning of the sorrows, because this stuff is going to ramp up. It's like a snowball effect, because just like how the season gradually comes in, these things, even though it's happening fast for us because we're watching, the Most High still, well, let me put it this way. It's happening fast for people who are not watching. But for us, it can't happen fast enough because we're ready to go. But just like the winter is coming in and is gradually going to come in, same thing with this thing right here until it come down to that destruction of Babylon, which is going to happen in an hour. But we're finishing out. Last 2 slides, y'all.
And I was about to say, it's also funny that you say that, because part of the conversation that me and my sister had last night, she was saying, you know, she's been listening to a lot of the Hebrew music and all of that. And she was talking about, I think, the Most High song or whatever. And she was saying how in the song, it was praying for destruction of this land. And then she was like, you know, from somebody who don't really know that, they would consider it like hate, or maybe y'all are like antichrist or whatever the case may be, because you're praying for destruction of this land. But she was like, the more and more, I guess, she's seeking, she starts saying why, you know, the prayers are as such, or the songs are saying the things that they're saying. And I told her, I said, when I first came into this, and even when I, you know, and this is just me speaking from personal experience, but when I first came into, you know, the truth, and then I started coming to the Bayat, and then I would hear you all pray, and it would be like, you know, send your recompense upon the enemies and all the different things. It kind of shocked me too. But like you said, the deeper and the further and the more you get into it, and the more you want of Yah, you do start to switch. And it's like, yeah, get us on up out of here. Like, it's time, it's come gather your people, bring judgment on the earth. Like it starts to switch. So the fact that you said that was interesting, that we just had to talk last night.
All praises. That's the Spirit bearing witness. I'm going to chalk it up to the Most High Spirit bearing witness. Is there anybody else? All right. Before we read this right here on the screen, somebody say something.
No, I was just saying, Khan, to what Brother Walt was saying. He said too many people are in love with this land.
Oh yeah, exactly right. That's why it says, "Come out of her, come out of her, come out of her. Stop fornicating with this harlot." You know, it's good to our people because they don't know. And Shamaria says this so well. If people really knew what was at stake, it'd be different. It'd be different. But people don't really know what's really at stake here because our people are so beat down. We can't even imagine being, you know, the royalty. We can't even imagine what it's like not being hassled and terrorized by police, not being justified by the quote unquote law of the land over here, always being ridiculed and humiliated and being used and abused all the time. We can't imagine that. So, but before you read this right here, we're gonna, because this is tying into what Sister T asked earlier. Can you go to Ezekiel 20, Joyce?
Ezekiel 20.
Sister T, are you free?
Yes.
Okay. Joyce, could you read verses 33 through 38?
33, 38. Okay. As I live, saith Yahweh Elohim, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered.
Now, this has not happened yet. This has not happened yet, y'all.
With a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, or Matazariam. So I will plead with you, saith Yahweh Elohim, and I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh.
Read verse 39 too.
As for you, O house of Israel, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, Go ye, serve ye every one his idols, and hereafter also, if ye will not hearken unto me, but pollute ye my holy name no more with your gifts and with your idols.
So, T, what that's saying is the Most High is going to gather us from these nations. And we're going to go into 2nd Ezra. It kind of talks about that as well. But essentially, he's going to gather us out of here, 2nd Exodus. And we're going to be in the wilderness of the people. So we're going to make it out of here, make it to the wilderness. And he says, and I'm going to purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me, I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn. So I'm going to bring you out of America, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. You're going to die in the wilderness. So for everybody saying, I can't wait to go to the wilderness, they missing it. That's why the whole point of this message is to endure until the end. Endure until the end. That really can be the name of this, talk right here. Enduring to the end. What's the end? Until Yahushua gives all of his authority and power back up to Abba Yah, and Abba Yah's kingdom come down, that's when it's the end. So does that make sense so far, T? And if anybody else wants to, chime in or anything, of course.
Yeah, facts. We in the car. I don't know if y'all hear us, but and I know Shamar, y'all can land me back on this and break it down better. But because I remember him saying, like, anywhere outside of the promised land, anywhere outside of the land of Canaan that was promised to us is considered the wilderness. So I mean, as you said earlier, our people spread to the four corners of the earth. So all of it, the wilderness. Right. A lot of people want to highlight America. Even though America is a major part of it, but it's just a daughter of Babylon, just like the rest of them are, So I mean, but the Most High is stressing what He's going to do prophetically, how He's going to gather us and bring us to the wilderness, and there's going to be a purge in the wilderness. A lot of people are going to die off, whatever the case may be, but ultimately, like I said, it makes me think of Amos 5, and I say Amos 5 all the time because that's one of my verses that really like surmise this thing so clearly to me. When you go to Amos chapter 5 and you start at verse 18.
Go ahead, bring it out.
And it says, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and then leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? So woe to the person like, I can't wait. Well, I can't wait to the end. Like you said, I can't wait till we get to the wilderness. I can't wait till, the reality is you need to be thinking beyond throughout the whole process, because you might avoid these lion-like issues and these bear-like issues that we facing in these last days. But as soon as you think you arrive and you leaning up on that wall comfortable, the most deceptive, slyest one of all come and get you. Catch you right when you think you made it. You finally arrive. So I always tell myself that, because it just helped me keep in the mindset that, man, like, until we there, I ain't there. Right. You gotta stay on guard, and you gotta stay on alert. You gotta keep strengthening your faith and keep doing what you gotta do, because none of us arrive. None of us have arrived. That's why it sounds so crazy when Christians be like, "Are you saved?" Like, idiot, do you not realize that being saved has everything to do with enduring to the end? You ain't saved just because you got in some water and verbalize your confession of believing in Christ. Like, it's way more to it. Go beyond that verse. Let me get off my rant, but yeah, I just wanted to say that.
God, all praises. You gotta think about, are you talking about going to the wilderness, but in Lamentations, Jeremiah, he said, I'm going to patiently wait for the salvation and deliverance of the Most High. So through suffering builds your patience. Because like me, myself, I deal with murmuring at my job because I'm dealing with, heathens. I'm dealing with unclean food because I work at a grocery store and I work in the meat department. So I'm over here around pork all the time and people over here being mean and rude and they got all these spirits on them. And I really want to go off, but I got to hold it in. So even when it comes to murmuring on that end, I got to catch myself and say, yeah, I'm thankful because I have a job to take care of myself. I can pay for everything you've provided through this job to pay my bills and make sure I got a roof over my head, food in my stomach, clothes on my back, money in my pocket. So, before I get too far over the edge, I'm thankful that the Rawat brings me back and keeps me grounded and humble. Because, we a bunch of what have you done for me lately? And everybody that know me personally, they know I say this all the time. We a bunch of what have you done for me lately? All this goodness that the Most High done for us over the years and generations. And we still, think about it, y'all, people still gonna be getting cut off in the wilderness. We got all these witnesses and people still gonna be getting cut off. People gonna be in the kingdom of Yahushua, still sinning. I might be going too far with that, but because I don't, that's a whole nother topic. But people are the king is gonna be here with us, and people still gonna be tripping. But go ahead, sis.
And I was gonna ask you. I guess this led me back to what Gerald was saying. And I guess it goes back to what I was saying as well. So just so that I'm correct or I have better understanding, is that scripture saying that we should not be hoping for the destruction of, this land or hoping that he comes and gets us, or are you saying that's what that scripture is entailing? Or I'm just trying to have better understanding so that I know that, of course, if we shouldn't be praying, bring your judgment and recompense on the head of the enemy and all that. Like, of course, I don't want to be doing that.
So when you keep reading, you see that the Most High is talking to the wicked Israelites. So they over here saying, yeah, just like that's why he brought up Christians. Thank God I'm saved. I can't wait till we get raptured up out of here. And as soon as Yahushua come back, he cutting your head off, you looking crazy. So that's who this is talking to. It's talking to the ones that ain't right with the Most High. And they want the day of the Most High to come.
And I look at it like the Bible is a mirror. So, from that perspective, that's 1000%. But also, I look at it even from a righteous perspective. It's like, the moment you start believing that you got it, you got it figured out and you good, the pride comes before fall, before crash. Right. So it's like none of us should really fit. We all should fit, because the reality is, the lower you view yourself, the greater you are in the kingdom, in eyes of the Most High and the Son. So it's like we got to look at this thing and the more we learn, the more we don't know nothing, and the humble we are, we're trying to stay humble before the Most High, because the reality is we can get to that point. And again, some people are strong as I don't know what in faith until they are really tested by the one thing that they, it could be that one area that you are weak in, that you haven't conquered, and you can endure so many things, but you don't think Hasatan is going to try to use that one thing that he know that can get you, So it's like we need to be thinking along the lines, what would I look like? I can't wait until I'm not about to pray for the day to come. Because I know it's still when I look in the mirror, I know it's still some stuff that I can improve in, and I've been strong for 2-3 years in a row. And then the very thing that I thought I conquered, a certain situation brought it right back out. And then I found myself, boom, doing something I ain't done in years, that I thought I had conquered, you know? So it's like, it just goes to show that nobody should be saying it. Everybody should have that balanced perspective in their mind that, man, like when this day comes, it's going to be a day of darkness. It ain't going to be a day of light. And it's going to catch everybody off guard, just like the days of Noah, you know? And we just got to have that oil. We got to be ready. We got to be ready the best way we can.
Like even, I'm gonna say it just like I told Zamar, and Zamar probably already know what I'm about to say. If Moses ain't make it, what chance do we got? If Moses didn't make it, what chance do we got? Because we talking about we don't want to die, and you know we ain't looking forward to that. If it happens, Most High's will be done. But it's this, you know, just like I always say, y'all, it's introspective. Introspective. So I tell y'all what I do. When I pray the Most High makes the time short, because I am praying that he gets us out of here soon. But I also pray that he refines us, that we're found without spot or blemish. That's why we got to go through the fire. That's the whole purpose of this word right here. What we gonna see, you're gonna see some people that you love get killed in front of you. You're gonna see people starving to death. And are you gonna get in the way of the Most High's judgment? Or are you going to endure unto the end? Don't be Lot's wife, y'all. Don't be Lot's wife.
Yeah, Salakia. Yeah, you made a good point, and because Reggie just spoke on it, we was talking about in the car, and the thing with the Moses thing, just for so it can be clear, Moses will be raised to get his lot, to receive his lot. But what you was bringing out was at that particular time he missed out on seeing the land, literally at that time because of his failure. You know, so a great as he was, and as mighty as he was to the nation, even to this day, if he fell short and got caught by the serpent, so to speak, at that last moment, you know, and couldn't go into the land at that time, then how much more so should we be up on our game? So, because again, I don't want to die. I rather be a part of the remnant that go into the land and get to experience it. But again, if I die, then I hope to have that hope of the resurrection, you know, whether it's first resurrection or the second resurrection, you know, as long as I come back, I'll be good with that, you know. But the point is, like, I'm sure we all would second and agree that none of us want to die. We all want to be a part of that thing and see the work of the Most High and see how this thing play out. And it's showing you that we got to be on full alert, because one mistake could be the thing that take you up out of here.
Shamaria said, just follow Barak and Ezra, and you'll learn what they prayed about, but you have to make sure you're cleaning up yourself before to rush the judgment, etc. But our people definitely prayed for deliverance. That's Khan. Get the speck out of your own eye first. That's exactly right. And I was listening to 2nd Ezra, and in 2nd Ezra, I want to say the Malachim, is it Uriel? I think Uriel was talking to him. He said, pray not for long life. Don't pray for long life. What you praying for long life in this world for if you're doing what the Most High told you to do? Just pray that you right with the Most High, because Barak, that's why 2nd Barak and 2nd Ezra, they are, it's so many witnesses that like bounce off of one another in those two books. Because on one side, Ezra is saying in there, pray not for long life. And on the other end, 2nd Barak is saying, what good is it to live a long life just to have to go through affliction? Like Father Adam, he lived to be 930 some years old, but he was struggling the whole time because he sinned against the Most High. Whereas Moses, Masha, he completely submitted himself to the Most High, and he only lived to be like 120, 130 something. I can't remember exactly how old, but it just goes to show you whether we live long lives or short lives, you know, ultimately, we just got to be soldiers. We got to be soldiers like Yahushua, son of Nun, Joshua, son of Nun, like Yahushua Hamashiach, that even if it means laying down your life, you're obedient unto death. Because we know death to us don't really mean nothing. And that's just one of those things we got to deprogram our mind from this world, because this world has taught us to fear death. But where we're from, the cloth that we're cut from, we don't fear anything but the Most High. So is any other comments on that? Appreciate that, Gerald and Shamar.
Good.
Okay, all right. Wrapping it on up then. It's the last, now we can get to second Ezra to tie in all the way what Sister T asked about. Sister T, are you following so far, or we ain't lose you, did we? Okay, she might be busy.
Gerald said they're about to meet with some other Akiams. Enjoy y'all. Shalom.
Okay.
Shalom.
Appreciate
y'all
it.
Be safe.
Love y'all.
Yep, love y'all. Shalom.
All right, Joyce, let's bring this thing on home. Second Ezra, chapter 16.
Hear, O ye, my beloved.
Joyce, before you read that, could you start, just for, like I say, just for the sake of Sister T, could you start at 67 and run it down?
Oh, hold on, I have to find it in my book then. This is second Ezra 16.
Mm-hmm. Verse 67 through 78.
$67 through 78. Okay. Behold, Elohim himself is the judge. Fear him. Leave off from your sins and forget your iniquities, to meddle no more with them forever. So shall Yahweh lead you forth and deliver you from all trouble. For behold, the burning wrath of the great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle, with things offered unto idols. And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden under foot. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear Yahweh. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Hear, O ye my beloved, says Yahweh, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Yahweh is your God, and the God of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith Yahweh Elohim. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. Woe be unto them that are bound with their sins, and covered with their iniquities, like as a field is covered over with bushes, and the path thereof covered with thorns, that no man may travel through. It is left undressed and is cast into the fire to be consumed therewith.
Okay, all praises. So finally, with the last slide, this is one of the well-known scriptures in the text, just to pretty much be the cherry on top. And I actually pulled this video that I posted on Instagram maybe a year or two ago. But I love this video. Just because, like, the visual, like I say, we're visual people. And for those who needed the Brenton Septuagint, it's on the left if you wanted to follow along. It pretty much lines up pretty similar. There are little differentiations, but we're going to finish it off with this.
He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust.
Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling.
So with that, family, I yield. I appreciate every single one of y'all taking the time out to, sacrifice your Saturdays, your time off for those who are off, and give all glory and honor once again to the Most High in the name of his only begotten Son. Thankful for the blood that was shed for our reconciliation back to the Most High. I'm thankful for the opportunity to bring the word that the Most High has put on my heart to give to the people. And I pray once again that it falls upon fruitful ears. And if there's any misspoken word or anything that we might be off about, I pray for forgiveness and just further edification from the Most High himself. So with that, I'll leave the floor open for any comments, questions, concerns, or anything before we pray out.
I'm just going to say while I have myself unmuted, I'm thankful for the class and dialogue that we've had today. It's provided me greater understanding. And I also feel like it continues to posture us at a place where we're just all just trying to get it right. We're trying to learn as much as we can and to live this walk out right the best way that we can. So I'm appreciative of your obedience and just being able to deliver what the Most High has given you, so that we all could be, like you said, edified and fed in this time, to also just be cautious and aware and to gain, that further knowledge and skill and understanding that we need in order to endure Imad during this time. So I'm just grateful for that. And I'm grateful that, everybody that has tuned in and kind of gave those and gave their insights. I just enjoyed the class today.
Oh,